Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg. It's the 16th day of August, 2024, and welcome to our show today. Wow. So let's see, where do we start this morning? I had a really weird week this week because my mom went in the hospital this week. So I'm trying to keep everything rolling, and we know how this goes. But we're going to talk about it a little bit this morning because I have had numerous experiences where I can conclusively say, it is my opinion, that the hospitals are still trying to kill people. So with that said, I mean, I don't think we can drop our guard for a minute here because the nonsense is still going on and we're still in a war. And I'm going to give you a great example of what happened yesterday. So, but before we go on, we've got our off the grid segment with Dr. David Kent, Karen the Riveter, and Ralph the IT guy this morning at 9 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, we have our citizen journalist panel, and we're going to be talking about some nonsense with Antifa that happened up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, with Casey Whalen, Christina, Holbrook, Dan, and Hollis Smeriglio, as well as who else. We'll see who else joins. I hope Melissa Frysel joins too. And then after that, at 11 o'clock, we will be back on with our J6er segment, Political Prisoners in America, with Jalise Middleton. And today we have Joseph Hernandez on. Yesterday's segment, I don't know if anybody watched it, but I hope everybody did, with Mr. Black there, who got shot in the face with a bullet, which was kind of crazy, a plastic bullet. He was picking out pieces of teeth and plastic, went right through his cheek. And I think that we're actually getting quite a bit of people watching that. And I think that's great because they need to have their voices amplified. And right now, nobody's really listening, and nobody in office is fighting for these people. So it's going to come down to you and I fighting for those people that we stand with as real Americans. And with that said, bringing everybody on. Hey, Ralph, Karen, and David, how you guys doing?
Good. Good morning.
Morning.
I've been trying to catch up on your shows from this week, and I haven't listened to yesterday's yet, but I've listened to the segments that you've had with the J6ers the last couple of days, 3 days. Anyway, very good and very informative and really interesting.
Right. And you want to know something that's really amazing? The overwhelming, overarching commonality I see is that the amount of spiritual maturity that if they didn't have it before, they have it now. And the focus on Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. It is just unbelievable how absolutely they have completely jumped into that, giving the glory to God, turning it around. And the testimony from yesterday was probably the singularly best altar call or testimony to Christ I have ever heard in my life. And I would encourage everyone to watch yesterday's 10 o'clock segment, because if you don't have faith, you listen to what that young man had to say, and you will have faith, because it just taking a really bad circumstance. I mean, the guy got shot in the face, and he said when they looked at the footage, they could see that they were shooting for their heads. It wasn't that they were shooting, which is illegal because these people are criminals. They were going after the cops. It sounded to me like there were bad cop, thug, coward, super soldiers there that were deep state, and they were literally attacking the police. And a lot of the J6ers were defending the police and pulling them away as they were being attacked. It looks to me like it was a cop-on-cop crime that was going on there after watching a few of these in an intense manner. It was cop-on-cop crime. The bad cops were also going after the good cops, and the J6ers were there to protect them. It was amazing.
And one thing that I found interesting was that it sounds like these people are all from so different walks of life. They're just what we might say ordinary Americans.
Everyday Americans.
Thrust into this odd situation, and they rose to the challenge in the courage that they've had just to survive the things that they've been put through in the prison system, and afterwards constantly being punished even after their quote unquote punishment is supposed to be over. You know, even when they get out of prison, they're still in prison in a sense, but they keep fighting on. And that is a testament to the fortitude of Americans.
Yeah.
And real faith in God.
Because their goal is to
Yes.
scare everybody so nobody else, goes after a capital or, a politician. So they want to scare everybody. And it's not working. It's doing the opposite.
Absolutely. So I walk in last night and my mom was really struggling. I really looked at her and I figured that she had 2 days maximum to live. That's the honest to God truth. I figured that she probably had 2 more days to live at the most. And I got her talking. She was talking, of course, to people that didn't exist there because, lack of oxygen and whatever, because her lungs are full of crap. And they basically were doing pretty much nothing for her. They put her on an antibiotic and such. And as I walked in last night, the nurse came in after I'd been there a while and said, well, we're about ready to give her remdesivir. And I said, oh, hold the phone. No, I'm going to reject the remdesivir. And I said, I believe that's well, I know enough people that had it and that's what killed them. Mm-hmm. And so I said, no, I'm going to refuse that. And I have a guardianship on her, so I have the ability to call the shots there. So at any rate, I got her talking a little bit, and the more she talked, I mean, she was cognizant enough to know that I was there, and she started crying, just really glad to see me, which was interesting, that how her reactions to things were. And I got her talking about things, and she really started coughing, and then I got her laughing about things. And she started coughing. I'm like, come on, Mom, you got to cough this stuff up. Really cough. And she started coughing it up, and she gave her a little suction thing and that was sucking it up when she coughed it up because she couldn't swallow. She couldn't do anything. And started clearing her lungs up. By the time I left, she was at least, I'm going to say 50% better. And then I walked out and I talked to the nurse and I said, I asked for them to give her, I asked them to try a nicotine patch. I asked for them to, let's see, what else did I ask them? She's supposed to be on an antiviral and wouldn't give her an antiviral, which is a virus, wouldn't give her a nicotine patch, nothing. And the nurse just looked up to me and she's very condescending, said, the doctor said no and no. And he has the right to practice, medicine the way he so sees fit. And this like this. And it was just really, really arrogant. I've seen that spirit before in the hospitals, and I can tell you it's like a very militant Nazi-esque, you're going to do what the doctor's saying. This is it. No discussion and blah, 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 and so
authoritarian,
not caring about the patient at all. Right. And so I of course, on my way home, got good counsel on what to say. And so I called him back and I said, I really want to talk to, I said, when's the shift change? Because I didn't figure that I was going to get any help with the current staff because it looked to me like they were actively ignoring my mom and wanting to see her die. And that's the truth. I've had this happen before when they were going to send her home before, when she got paralyzed after the second clot shot, which she wasn't supposed to have. And they lined them all up in the home she was in and did it anyway. Against what I told them I wanted done.
You can sue them for that, no?
I know, I can't. I've been a little busy just trying to keep everybody alive. And so suing for retribution wasn't the top of my list because the damage was already done. And they wanted to send her home. They said, we're just going to send her back to the home. And if she falls again, we'll go pick her up. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, so you've done a thorough evaluation? And the doctor said, well, yes, of course. And I said, so then she's got advanced osteoporosis. I said, looks to me like you're sending her home so she can fall and break a hip. So you can, not blame this on the clot shot. And the doctor looked at me and she's like, so maybe you should bring her home with you if you don't think we're taking good enough care of her. I said, you're fired. Leave the room. Don't come back in. Head of nursing did the same thing. I'm like, now you're fired. Don't come back in and get me a doctor that wants to practice actual medicine. Then they sicked social work on me. And I sat there and chewed his tail for about 45 minutes. And he's like, well, I don't know if we can admit her. I said, if you don't, I'm going to sue the living hell out of you. And so they decided to admit her. She went to an advanced acute care facility after that, and things went a little better. but you have to hold these people accountable. And I was so disgusted because it's like, I've got a mouth and I'm a professional ass chewer, right? When something's wrong, and I don't give a damn what they think of me. But I sat there and I looked at the nurse, the care nurse, who was real nice. And she looked at me, she said, "You did the right thing." And she was real nice. And I said, the thing that really burns me is how many people go into these situations with no one to defend them, and everybody else is scared of what these doctors or nurses say. So anyhow, last night, I called the floor nurse and I said, "When is the shift change? Because I don't think I'm going to get anybody right now that gives a damn about my mom." And she was like, "Well, you'll probably get better help if you do it now," and blah, 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 soft soap, bend over and take it type thing. I mean, that's really what it feels like. So I'm like, nah, I'm just going to wait till after the shift change. I'll wait until that, and then I'll see if we've got somebody who actually wants to help. And so within 10 minutes, I get a call from the doctor, not the nurse, the doctor that wouldn't talk to me before. I get a call from the doctor, and he's like, "Well, he's real nice. He actually was very nice." And I said, "Is there a problem?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "When I have a nurse tell me no, and that's just the way it is," I said, I don't feel like anybody cares. And I said, leaving her there without trying things is not okay with me. And so I told him, I think, I'd like to try. I really want to, I said, our family doctor said, try some steroids on her, and that would probably really help. And of course he wanted the doctor's name. And I said, yeah, it's irrelevant right now. You're talking to me. And so I said, I'd like to try 100 milligrams of steroids. And he's like, "Well, we can't give her any because she can't swallow, but we can do IV." I said, "Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted." And so he said, "Okay." So he said, "I'll prescribe that." And I said, "Well, what about a nicotine patch? I've heard that is real helpful for COVID." He's like, "Well, there's no thing to substantiate that." I said, "Is there any harm? What's it going to hurt?" And he's like, "Well, I guess nothing." And I'm like, "Why wouldn't you try something that creates no harm?" And I came right out and I told him, I said, "All right, I'm done with this hiding stuff right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened." I said, "I got diagnosed with an incurable cancer years ago. And I said, the only reason why I'm alive right now is because I stopped going to doctors and trying everything everything else. I just tried everything else. And turns out, guess what? Incurable cancer is curable." And I'm like, I'm going to tell you that right now. I said, the only reason was because I was disgusted with what I saw enough that I'm like, I'm not going down the path and watching you all kill me. I'll figure it out on myself, or I will literally die on my own terms, but I'm not dying on your terms. So he's like, "Well," he said, "I guess we could try it." He goes, "I'm not happy about it," but he said, "I'll try it." And I'm like, "Well, that's all I wanted." I said, let's try that and see what happens. He goes, "Well, I'm not into this ivermectin nonsense and this, that, and other." I'm like, "Well, we'll just take the first step here, get a nicotine patch on her and steroids." And so, when you're working with some of these people, that are brainwashed within the system or complicit. I don't know yet. I'm not going to necessarily accuse one or the other. If they're brainwashed into this is just how the system works because this is what insurance dictates and this is what the criminal hospital killing fields, systems. These hospitals are killing fields, and they're brainwashed. I would love to have another option where we put together, like I'm looking for the word, just the site, the type of legal framework that
PMA.
PMA. Thank you. A PMA where we can just go ahead and do what we want to do. It's our risk. Screw the insurance agencies or the insurance industry. Screw them all. And not having them dictating care for doctors, but letting doctors actually practice medicine the way that they see fit, with the patients having the right to choose the options they want in any situations. Because for me, I probably would never go into the hospital. I would choose to not go in and just say, live or die. I don't care. I'm going to live or die on my own terms, not dictated in the killing fields of the hospitals, because that's what I do. I do believe that that's what it is. Now, there's been some situations that I'm really glad that they're there that have been real helpful. but overall, I think it's gotten worse. And I think we've got some serious problems, and the constant mergers and acquisitions where they come together should be very concerning for everyone. And you better know a doctor that knows how to get around it, whether it's the frontline doctors or people that actually want to practice medicine the way that it should be practiced, not in bondage to the big pharma, but because they have the guts to do it the way it needs to be done and screw the system.
I have a few comments. I have a few comments.
Yeah, please.
To share, since I've been in the system. I'd say 10, 20 years ago, medicine was really great. And hospitals had, a handful of administrators, which basically managed, the ancillary folks, not the doctors. Most doctors were in private practice. And if you admitted someone to the hospital, you would consult with various specialists that would see your patient, but you kind of ran the show for your patient. And things were really good. I don't know the ratio, but, for every 10 doctors or medical people, there was maybe one administrator, or less than that even. Fast forward to now, the hospitals are filled with administration, MBAs. It's like the government, just millions of people just sucking off the system. And it's the philosophy in the hospitals have changed from helping people to making money. And all the hospitals that were, like the hospital I worked in was a freestanding hospital. It didn't have any corporation or anything. It was a not-for-profit. And the doctors kind of ran the show. Now, all the hospitals are consolidated. Like in Michigan, there's 2 or 3 massive companies that own all the hospitals.
Health, Trinity.
Yeah, and they stuff it filled with administrators. And it's become so bad that they actually are doing something illegal, and you're not allowed to tell a doctor how to practice medicine if you're not a physician. And that was kind of always a barrier to hospital systems buying up private practices and hiring doctors. And, it didn't work, but now all doctors pretty much work. You'd be lucky if you could find a doctor, that's on his own. Most of them work for one of these big 3 companies, and they put undue pressure on doctors. They probably don't say, okay, this is what you have to prescribe, but they put undue pressure. Like, if you go out of these guidelines, you're not going to work here anymore. And we've all heard.
And then they'll go after your license.
Oh, heck yeah. They'll fire you, and they'll go after your license. And it's just a terror. And they have these administrative judges that I think we were talking about something like that last week with Norton. These administrative judges who aren't real judges, who just everybody has a right to trial by their peers but they don't do that. They have some administrative judge, fake judge with his fancy robes, go in there and slap down, okay, you can't practice medicine. We're taking away your license for 10 years. And these idiots don't know anything about medicine. They just follow along with whatever the corporations tell them, just like all the other judges in the country. They're all controlled. So it puts doctors in a very bad place. I think most doctors have good intentions, but with all the pressure they have, they are forced to do stuff like not give a nicotine patch, not give ivermectin. Like this doctor you're talking about won't give ivermectin. There's thousands of articles out there that shows that it's beneficial and it doesn't hurt you. Mm-hmm. So why not try it? But if they did, that guy would probably get fired for doing it, even if he knows. And it's the wrong thing because they don't stand up. And then you mentioned about these nurses. They're tyrants. They're terrible. They're horrible people. And it's just like in the airlines, the stewardesses, and the people that work at the airports, all these people get a little bit of power. The teachers, these young teachers, and they're tyrants. They don't care about their job. They care about pushing you around. telling you what to do. It's a horrible situation. The hospitals are freaking dangerous. Like we need a major change. They need to go back to not for profit. They need to go back to focusing on patients, and we need to allow doctors to practice medicine. They're not allowed to practice medicine in certain instances like this, where there's all this controversy where they want to kill people. And I wonder if your mother was given some sort of, if she was agitated. I mean, this is how they do it. They're real sneaky. You go in there, you're having trouble breathing. You have some kind of virus, some sort of infection going on, and they don't give you any steroids, which would be the normal frontline treatment, because some Dr. Fauci or somebody said, don't do it. So they don't do it, the common sense things. And if I were to do it, I would lay your mother down. I wouldn't raise the head of her bed very much. I'd say she's agitated, and I'd give her some morphine or something to calm her down, which is a respiratory depressant. So you're going to breathe even less. And then she's going to get to the point where, we have to intubate her. And then it's just downhill from there. And you can kind of justify that, saying she was agitated, but you're giving her too much morphine or Valium or something, and she gets worse and worse and worse. It's a sneaky thing that they did, and it sounds like they're still doing it. And I just wonder, are the hospitals getting paid for COVID deaths still?
Well, they sure were, and you've got to wonder if they tick all the check marks off for somebody, if they're getting paid for the test. Well, they're getting paid for the tests. They're getting paid for
sure, yeah.
They're getting every single thing they prescribe or do. They're getting paid on the backside for. These people are evil, and they are evil. This is evil, and it's a killing field. But the pattern has been there for a long time. In World War II, it was the nurses, and a lot of them went to the Nuremberg trials, and there's prosecutions that happened there, but not enough. But they were injecting children to kill them. The nurses were the ones that were killing a lot of people, and they were doing it by lethal injections. Just never said anything.
And they just said, I was just following orders from the doctor. Well, guess what? You're going to be held accountable for following orders from the doctor and not standing up and doing the right thing.
Yeah, and just because you say, well, I didn't know, like the gal that went past our no trespassing signs, didn't know.
They know.
They know what they're doing.
Basic stuff.
You want to hear a story about what happened to me on an airline? Because when I was running, I was absolutely targeted. I had security guys run me down in airports to try to intimidate me. I mean, it was just, they'd come out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, so I'm on a plane one day, and I got on, and this feminazi airline employee, flight attendant, comes up to me. She says, "You're going to have to change your mask." And I said, "Okay, I got another one." So I pulled another one out of my pocket. I went down and sat down. I get halfway through the flight when we're up in the air, and she comes over there and surrounds me with the other air attendants. This was on Allegiant Air. Okay. They surround me in my chair, and she goes, "Why didn't you change your mask?" And I said, "Well, I did. Here's the old one. Here's the new one." She goes, "That's not the right mask." And she's like, she goes, "You better have one of the right masks on." And she said, "I'm not going to give you one now."
Well,
and
why do you have to change it?
Yeah, because it wasn't the right mask. She goes, "And I'm not going to give you one now. And unless you put on one of these type of masks," she goes, "I'm going to report you, and you're going to be fined $2,000. Everybody around me in the plane was literally horrified. I said, "Well, this is all I have." And I said, "So I'm not really sure what to do." And she sat there over the top of me, trying to threaten me and this, that, and the other thing. Guy behind me is like, oh my God, he was so pissed. He ends up pulling a mask out of his pocket. And I should have just let him write me up. And but what they were trying to do is they were trying to kill my ability to move around on the airlines while I was campaigning and moving around. They were literally trying to find reasons to either put me in jail, prosecute me, or ban me from all air travel.
They didn't put you on a terrorist watch list?
Oh, I'm already on that. I'm sure of that.
I'm sure all of us probably are already.
Yeah. But that that was just it was one of those things that everybody around me, after she walked away, they were scared to say anything. They were horrified at the situation. So I went to get off the plane. I said, how about I took a couple pictures of her. I said, she had her badge turned around too. She wouldn't show me her badge. And I said, I'd like to see. I said, what's your number? What's your employee number? What's your badge number? I'm not going to give that to you.
Really?
Yeah. Turned it around, and I got a picture of her face and such. But it's like, yeah, they wouldn't even give me any identifiers. I think that's illegal, isn't it? So
I don't know, but
I think the
public
police
servants have to do it.
It's illegal. And so there's a manifesto. You got to pick your battles, though. It's just like, suing this person or that person. If I started suing and was starting to go after people, swear to God, I would be doing this like I'd need 1,000 hours in a day just to keep up with it, because I don't have enough help to do it, because I'm doing too much of this stuff by myself. It'd be great, but that requires people that are really working together as a team, and everybody else is just trying to keep their heads above water right now. So it's like to get people that are not deep state to really jump on a team is a difficult thing with something like that. Now you guys are on a team already, which is amazing, but you know what I mean? It's like all of us are so overtaxed. It's not just me that to drag. We would have to have people that stepped up from outside of the ones that are already standing together and
something that Tori did is she set up state teams a long time ago, like before COVID or around the time of COVID. In every state, there's a group, and they file lawsuits, work together, and have meetups in person. And they were totally infiltrated at first with deep state people, and slowly but surely, we could tell and kicked them out. It's down to a handful, 20, 30 people, at least in the Michigan group now. But they filed plenty of lawsuits and are throwing wrenches into the system as much as possible.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah,
connect me with that group. That
crazy stuff going on. It's hard to believe. I mean, I still can't imagine how many people are involved in this destruction of our country.
Check this out. City Journal. American Society of Plastic Surgeons becomes the first major medical association to challenge the consensus of medical groups over gender affirming care. There is a number in this case that's over, I'll see if I can find it, over 5,600 women, young women between the ages of 12 and 18. This is what they're quoting, but they say that this is actually more accurate. And this includes 50 to 179. Oh, let's see if I can go back here. 50 to 179. Let me see if I can pull that back up. Of course, I clicked on it.
New tab.
Go to the next tab. Yeah,
there you go. Double mastectomies for girls under let's see, 50 to 170 who were 12.5 years old or younger.
That's insane.
Top surgery on girls 12 years old has been reported in this literature. Under 12, the top surgery is a double mastectomy. I don't know. I can't
to their kids.
People not being horrified at these parents who are monsters that don't understand that they are sterilizing. They are. I can't understand this.
Who would do that to their kids? People are so stupid.
Sick. They're sick.
They're sickening. They shouldn't have had kids.
No, they shouldn't have kids. This is using kids as like a Munchausen's by proxy. It's like using your kids to get attention.
Wow. So what did the American Society of Plastic Surgery, the ASPS, what is their stance? Did you say at the beginning?
Main justification for minors has been all associations. Let me see, but they are challenging it.
Okay.
Instead, it is a result of a small number of ideologically driven doctors, members of LGBT-focused communities who exploit their colleagues' trust.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what else I have.
Those doctors have to be held accountable too.
I think so too. I mean, this is it's very, very, it's crazy. This is crazy. Who cuts
and
off
if
body
like
part?
they're trying to convince everybody, if gender is a social construct, then why does surgery affirm it?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
And what
Well said.
12-year-old is allowed to make a decision, like that anyways?
Because their parents are stuck in a 12-year-old psyche.
Yeah, the parents are nuts.
What about all of the 6-year-olds that identify as pirates? Should we poke out an eye and give them a peg leg?
Yeah, the parents want it. Why not?
Or a dinosaur. Let's sew a tail onto their behind, give them claws, and try to make them look like a dinosaur. Let's give them Stegosaurus plates on their back. See how that works.
Yep. We have to pray that Trump is back in office.
Well, it's like the schools that have had to install. I think they had to install litter boxes in a couple of schools because they had kids that decided to identify as a cat.
Yeah. Yep. Furries, they call them.
Yeah.
Where do the kids get all this stuff in their head? From Netflix?
I have a drawing that I made when I was 5 years old or something. I still have it. And it said, Karen is a dog. Yes, Karen is a dog. It had a picture of a dog. So at that time, I did some, walking around on all fours and pretending because I really liked dogs. And we might have been alligator in the bathtub. That's what kids do. They use their imaginations to pretend that there's something that they're not. They're trying to see the world through other eyes. What would it be like to be this? What would it be like to be that? And it's, I grew up in an era where we had record players. So you could listen to the record player tell you a story, which we did sometimes. There were storytellers on there. And you had, whatever I imagined the story sounding like, even with the same words, was different from what my brothers might have had in their head. And dolls, played house with dolls and stuffed animals and imagined different things happening and going on and playing outside. We didn't have TV and video games until we were a little bit older. And even then it was, Sesame Street and the very first video games, which one of my favorites was a spelling game. So it wasn't and I learned to read because my mother read to me and taught me. That's what's missing. We love children to use their imaginations because that develops that critical brain, the critical thinking, common sense brain. No, I know I'm really not a dog, but I imagined being one at one point in time. And it created connections in my brain that allows me to see connections or possibilities, thinking outside the box of where other people are stuck. These people are stuck in brains that were never fully developed. It's like talk about dogs, domesticated dog versus a wolf. A domesticated dog thinks in terms of a puppy more than they do an adult psyche that, an animal that has to fight for a living and earn its food by killing. It doesn't think that way. It thinks in terms of what can I do for my owner and how can we play today? And these people, that's what they do all the time. How can I play today? They're not in a real adult phase of life. When you're an adult, mentally, you are going to be more protective of your children. Even your parent, Donna, when you're older, you're going to be protective of those people because you're an adult. They're not protective of their children. They're treating them like they would a doll. With a doll, you can change the gender of the doll if you want to, using your imagination. It's a toy. Your child is not a toy. And I feel like that, why don't I dye my hair blue? That would be fun. When I see people with blue hair, I feel sorry for them because I feel like they're like in the Peter Pan world. They chose not to grow up. I yield.
Well, and I think that there's a point there, is that when people do things like that, instead of working to live a life of anonymity, which is really kind of should be a goal. It's right now we're trying to get out there and get the message out there, but the goal is to live a life of anonymity and take care of the people around you, where you recede a little bit and you help other people gain success and notoriety, and you pass the torch. You don't do that. You don't use people as a how do I say it, a thing to gain attention. Or when you watch people that are constantly trying to get attention by, I hate to say it, just being as weird as they can be. Let's see how weird I can be so that somebody looks at me, look at me type of stuff. That's a 6-year-old mentality. If you want to get on a stage, go ahead and get on a stage and go play the rest of your life. But the rest of human beings need people that are actually adults to be workers in the field and are just happy with a good day's work and taking care of the flock, taking care of the people that are around us. And that's not, you don't do that for personal glory. That's a thankless job that most of the time nobody sees what you do or how much work you put into it. It's like being a mom or a dad. You think you're going to get thanked every time you cook dinner or pick up their clothes for the 12th or 100th time in a day, or the toys or taken? There's no thanks that goes into being a parent. It's a day in and day out. You're going to do it because of the love of your children, but it's not going to be anything anybody else sees. And unfortunately, a lot of parents get treated with disdain over being a parent. You're just a mom, you're just a that. It's like the most important job on the planet, right? But it's not going to give you any notoriety. The reward is watching your children grow up and be, hopefully a better human being than you are.
Or you can stop them from growing up altogether. It goes back to Peter Pan again. You take off their breasts, then they never get to grow up fully. You take out their ovaries and their testicles, basically, one way or another, you remove their ability to become an adult truly.
Well, think about this. They're turning men into eunuchs. Yep. Go back to the Bible. I mean, that's exactly what they want, is a compliant eunuch that will do what they're told. That's kind of biblical. And look at Pritzker and how much money that Pritzker has made on these clinics. I mean, this is all about money. And honestly, Baphomet is a transgender god, and that's what they serve. They want to turn men into eunuchs and women sterilize them and the whole 10 yards. It's like no genders, and that means a compliant slave. When people go through the gender reaffirming thing, I mean, when you listen to them, how much does a guy that mutilates to being a woman have to do to maintain it? They've got like a metal rod they have to insert in order to keep their manufactured vagina from closing back up. You're never going to be a woman. You're always going to be on massive amounts of steroids and medicines and such. And I mean, I listened to one girl that transitioned into a guy, and she had all of the scars on her forearm for what they used to make a penis out of. And she was like, I live every day. She said, I wish I just would have waited. She said she had both top and bottom surgery. And she said, I pray to die every single day. She said, I have nothing left. And if I just would have waited, I just should have waited. And the sobs from this woman are just, it's heart wrenching. And one of those things that you'll never forget when you hear it.
Terrible. The world is falling apart.
Yeah.
And not everybody's fighting.
No, because they're too busy with their play. I'm just gonna, sit here and play, and they don't realize what a fight we're in. If you're in a war, Why would you play if you're in a war and you know it is, and that this is a temporary home? This isn't our home. Why would you fight with everything you have in it all the time? I mean, I don't know. There's always good works to be done, and you know, it doesn't have to be a hostile fight. I mean, my gosh, even going to the store and smiling to people, or you know, bringing cookies to your neighbors or something like that. I mean, there's always something you can do that's a good work. I've got a gal that just said that okay, here we go. I'm going to bring somebody else on a minute, just because apparently there was quite a bit of a problem last night at the, let's see if I can, all right, that's not what I want. Hold on a minute. At the GOP, and somebody saying that they wish they had never signed up to be a precinct delegate. And I want to give her a chance to tell what happened going on here, because the conventions were last night, and it sounds like it was a proverbial goat rodeo. I'm real concerned with what we're seeing there, and with the precinct delegates, because it's an illusion of power at this point in time. And I have some real questions on what's actually happening here, but let's listen to what Denise has to say, because I think this could be real interesting. Let's see if she'll come on.
We never know exactly what we're going to talk about on BNN.
No, it sort of comes out. While we're waiting for her to come on, anything else off the grid that we want to talk about?
Well, there was one thing I thought about, and that was, we've talked about preserving information before in an offline capacity. We've talked about that quite a bit, and having books and stuff. And an experiment I ran years ago that I thought might be kind of interesting for some people is, this was back in the days before e-readers, and I wanted to be able to carry books around with me. And so what I would do is I would print off entire books, shrink down an entire book to fit on like one sheet of paper. And then I could fold that up and fit that into my pocket. And I did a bunch of experiments with how small can you print things and still have them be legible. And I got down to the point where I was printing them at about, I think, 1.6 points. And when I did 1.8 points, everybody I tried it on showing it to, even people that needed quite strong glasses, were able to read that text at 1.8 type. You can fit like an entire book on one or maybe two sheets of paper a lot of times if you shrink it down like that. And the way that I found you could do that is if you have an inkjet printer, don't print it in black. Print it in a real dark blue, because that way it'll use the blue parts of the color ink, which is misaligned just slightly from the black. So you get more detail out of it, and it works really well.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's important not to. I just bought this one, and I'm a book hoarder, and I wanted to see what this was about, and so I just bought this one because I think that we all can be. And some of the topics in here are, it's of what you'll find in my basement from somebody who's a true prepper, long-term food storage theory, and how you do that, what you can do, buying in bulk, packaging it yourself, that sort of thing, freeze drying in number 10 cans. This is where to purchase foods for long-term storage. Augustin Farms is a really good resource for buying freeze-dried food that's out in Salt Lake City, and you can buy it if you go to the website and such. But I think it's a good idea to have a few things on hand, because you just don't know.
Yeah, they got all kinds of cool stuff at that place.
You can get powdered butter, for gosh sakes. You can get everything. Oh, let's see.
And notoriety, and you pass the torch.
Morning,
do
Denise.
That. You don't use people as a how do I say it? A thing to gain attention, or when you watch people that are constantly trying to get attention.
Okay. Hey, Denise, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can kill the sound on the computer or something, so that it's not picking up whatever is in the background.
If you want to get on the stage, go ahead and get on a stage.
Here, let's see if I can call her a minute or see if she's got some difficulties here. Hang on just one second.
Yeah, I'd love to hear at some point in time some book recommendations from everybody, because I'm sure there's some real good books that each of us have on our bookshelves that each of the rest of us don't have on our bookshelves and should. I've got a couple of interesting ones for off-grid stuff. There's one that Donna, I think you've shown on here before. That's Bushcraft First Aid. Yeah. That's a cool book.
Yep, I've got that right by my. Let's see, I've called the wrong one. Hold on a minute. Let's see if I can get it. Let's see, I've got it. I've got books piled up. Hi, I'm hearing feedback on the computer. So if you can kill that a minute, and then we can have, I can do it by phone, or if you could figure out how to not run it through your computer or your phone, then with no feedback, we can have you come on. Okay, well, we'll just do that then. Then I'm gonna put Denise on your speakerphone here. And hey, Denise, how you doing?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning. So, what happened with the precinct delegate stuff yesterday? What did you see?
Oh gosh, Donna. I was in the front row when it started, and I don't know if I should mention names or not, but
you can.
Cannot.
No, I said you may mention names. Go ahead.
The secretary for the board for the Macomb GOP was mouthing to someone in the audience, ask the question, then texting the person. Well, the chairman was speaking, and this person was somewhat a heckler, asking a question that just started the crowd off on the wrong foot. Let's put it that way. And it went on and on. And then when we broke out by precincts, I couldn't believe that this person that was the secretary was the District 9 chairperson living in Lapeer when we're Macomb Township.
What?
And again started stuff in the other room. It was 10:30 and we hadn't moved to much at all. And a lot of people left. I mean, the nonsense, the fighting, the arguing. We have a right. Who made up this rule? That again. I walked out. I mean, I had been there over 5 hours and nothing was accomplished. By the way, John James's aide tried to get his delegate placard, which is illegal because we have to ask for ID. And he lost his ID. Because when he came in, I said, you have to get your own placard. Those are the rules. It's just like an election. Got to have your ID. Lost his ID. Oh, it was just, this can't go on. This just cannot go on.
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing. That's the one thing that I don't understand either, is that when you're in a group like that, this public fighting is such a waste of time. Well,
the rules are so convoluted, just like everything in medicine and in politics. Nobody knows these things in depth. So they end up arguing about them. I mean, this could go on in the middle of the night. I don't want any part of it anymore.
The goal is to make you feel that way. The goal is to make it so confusing that you just say, forget it. That's what they want.
Oh, I know. I worked 10 years, Dr. David, at St. John Hospital for the chief of pediatrics and the director of HEMOC, the NICU, all the docs and the people that came in as subspecialists from other hospitals. I did all their dictations. I worked there 10 years, and I used to watch the chief take bad residents notes or bad intubations that they had processed in the NICU and crumble them up, remove them from the chart, and they were found in his middle drawer.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't even want to walk into a hospital now. I refuse. I refuse to go in. I have to be on my deathbed.
Yeah. You've seen it. You've seen what I've seen. It's horrible.
Oh, yes.
And the new residents that are graduating, coming out, oh my God. That's scary how they're training people.
Well, they don't want to be doctors. They wanted to be a baker, and their parents pushed them to be a doctor. All kinds of crazy things. And I was in when they were accepting ECFMGs from out of country, and that changed because they just had so many deaths from these residents that were untrained, in my opinion, should have never been in medical. And our own daughter is indoctrinated through MSU.
That's terrible.
Believing anything outside of the mainstream medical.
100%. These kids have been brainwashed if they've gone to university. Fortunately, the ones that don't go to university still have critical thinking and they see it. But most of the kids that go to universities come out totally brainwashed.
Yes, it's a sad thing. But getting back to the precincts delegate night and the county convention, I mean, we had a young lady up there 3 years. She said she's been trying to get invited to state. And then the crowd starts chanting, "You're not one of them. You're not a favorite." I'm looking around going, oh my goodness, this is a terrible situation for adults to be in.
That's like a cult. If they're like getting rid of people that have been there for 3 years trying to go to state, and they're keeping people out based on you're not a favorite. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, John James they let him speak before the convention started, and he was running back and forth up and down the aisles, save America, save the children, my children. It was a circus, and he's a horrible speaker. And we're being told to vote for these people. You must vote. We need them in. You must vote. All red. Well, why don't you look for other better candidates to run against them and not leave one person uncontested?
Why not encourage them to vote for what the constituents want instead of this group think nonsense, which is functioning like a cult? That's my question right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of older people next to me that the lady next to me listens to you every morning. And she said, oh my gosh, this is just terrible. If Donna could hear this, and I go, Donna, are you talking about Donna Brandenburg? She goes, yes, I am, but whisper it.
Don't say the unspeakable name, Donna Brandenburg.
Yes, many of the older constituents, even a year ago, the people behind us said, we're not voting for the way you said, we're voting for Donna Brandenburg. And we had your sign, and they made us not show it at the meeting.
And I think a lot of it too.
Pay the renewal for over a year. We didn't go for several months, and I just recently went back by myself, and I can't even stand it. I walk out. I just walk out because I have no patience for the stupidity.
Well, they've trained Americans to have that mentality for decades, not just politically, but also through the sports team fanaticism and even college fanaticism. With these people are part of my group, and in a lot of cases, they're people that have absolutely no association with the college that they cheer for or the sports teams that they cheer for. They're not even in the same state as a lot of the sports teams that they cheer for. And it's the same mentality.
It's strange, but it's not strange to me because I was in naval intelligence, and I've studied this stuff for years, and it's brainwashing, psyopting. It's just sad to look at. It really is, because we're headed in the wrong direction, and it's going fast. We're already there. We're already to the communist line, and I don't see anybody standing up but a handful of people, because I've been talking about going back to the Republic and the Constitution, understanding there is a group underneath us that is constitutionally and republicly lined, not in the sense of a group, but wanting to get back to law and order and getting rid of this bloated government.
Well, I tell you that that's why, I'm the vice chair of the U.S. Taxpayers Party, which is the Constitution Party, and it's the Constitution Party in Michigan. And you don't see that kind of nonsense. Our convention was actually very, very orderly, and every single person that was there ran for an office, except myself, because I'm still contesting the 2022 election. But pretty much, I'll take that back. There was one more person, I think, that didn't run, but almost everybody else there, they were either an officer or they ran for an office and for an elected office. And there's no arguing. There's only, hey, what can we do to help you with your run? What can we do to help you with this? It's not like that. And I got to tell you, when George Washington said that there should be no political parties, he wasn't just kidding, because they are so infiltrated. And people, like, as to your point, Ralph, people feel like they've got a sports team or a team to align with. But the problem is none of them get along. You realize we have 3 Republican parties basically in the state of Michigan, just not official. You've got the ones that are with Hoekstra. You've got the ones that are still with Caramo. You've got the ones that are still with Michon and the Grand New Party. Nobody knows what's going on, and there's no strong leadership. There's no strong leadership to unify everyone, and it's by design. I don't think it can be done within the party of Michigan right now, because there's way too many political operatives that are trying to divide, and they're paid. Guaranteed, a lot of these people are paid to divide.
Absolutely, taking bribes. Even locally here, Mark Hackle went underneath all the citizens and took money from the Macomb Rainy Day Fund to build that jail after we had turned down that millage twice. He's just the arm of Wickersham, the sheriff, running it, because he used to hold that position himself. All these people, like I said, are collecting 2 pensions from the county locally. They're all in a group. Even the treasurer of Macomb working with one of the commissioners, which happens to be mine, and they got a real estate scam going. And then Biondo joined in and got his license. Like I said, it is so corrupt that you just sit here going, they're stealing all of our money. They're manipulating the public. I don't know how to control it myself either. I voted them people out years ago, and I didn't want to check those boxes when I went to the primary. And it was the strangest feeling in my life. But I think that's because so many people have now gotten sick and tired of all of it. We need to reform this election process completely. And I agree with you, Donna, and most others last night, as we were whispering, get rid of the machines, one-day national voting, paper ballots, no drop boxes, no mail-in voting, vote from the military base. We must do this in an attempt. But I think even more so, vet the people running.
I think that's right, because the problem is that people are using it as like a popularity contest in a group club. It's like high school. And, it's like, who are we all voting for? Who are we all voting for? It's like, we're not all voting for people that were standing within these parties. You're supposed to be voting with your constituents. And the only way you do that is not to go to these overwhelming amount of political events. You talk to people in your community. You set up, what do we want to do, and make sure, start at the township level that people are being held accountable when they do step out of line like this. that to me, I'm glad you said something, because it's hard to describe the climate, the political climate, when you get into these situations with people who have not been in them. How crazy this actually is. And it's so funny. It's like I went to the Vance rally. Everybody was coming up to me and talking, "Hey, Donna, it's so good to see you," and such. It's like, but a lot of people won't mention it out loud. But if they see me off to the side, they're like, "Wow, it's kind of amazing. It's a definite turnaround."
Yes, I ran for office years ago in Chesterfield as trustee, and it was very sad to me that I had to work on all these other people's campaigns and show up at their fundraising and donated this and that. None of them came to my fundraiser. I was cleaning up sewage. I was doing my part, walking in the peach parade. And I said, you know what? I don't want this. This is not what I want. I want to be doing the work. I want to be talking and out there talking about policy and changes and how to right the communities. But these people were more interested, like you said. The more they got into an activist group, picking up garbage or going to rallies and waving, kissing babies, that's primarily what they did. Because anybody can spout bylines that go on a brochure, but do you know how to execute?
I agree with that. It's just really, and if people are just there to bring the cookies and make friends and pass the time, it's a waste of time. There's got to be work that's done, or reaching out to other people. It's kind of, it's kind of sad. It's definitely a sad thing to see. Well, I thank you for being on today, Denise. Why don't we talk? Maybe you can come on for a full interview next week or so. And I would love that, because then we can talk about these real things that are going on the ground, so people can see this is what's really happening, not what you think is happening within these parties, but what's really happening, and how they are using a lot of it as a distraction. I went to a couple of things where I drove like 2 hours to go to a GOP meeting. There were 12 people there that were mostly part of the party, and there would be 12 candidates, or there was like 15 candidates that were competing against, basically each other, and just a few people in cookies. And it's like, what are we accomplishing here? Pretty much nothing. And so I started backing out of them, just because it's like, this is just engineered to be a waste of time.
Right. When you keep going to the meetings and they have the same candidates speaking over and over. And I mean, it was all judges speaking last night, and it's ridiculous. I mean, we've heard these bylines for months and months and months, and this is brainwashing. It's propaganda.
And they've got no answers. There's no answers. There's no, this is what we're going to do, this is the game plan, or anything like that. And then anybody that has one, they just don't give you the stage or the microphone. And that's how it is. But we go one to one. Well, guys,
thank you. Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. And I will call you later. Thank you so much for calling in today and letting us know what's really going on. I mean, I appreciate it so much. And all right. Thanks, Denise.
God bless you guys. You have a good one.
You also. Thank you. Bye. Oh, that was kind of a neat thing. I knew that there was going to be some things that came out of last night. So
you know what I heard? What I heard, one thing that stood out is we usually hear about it or consider it from the Democratic Party, but it's also obviously in the GOP. They can't control people by causing fear. If you look at what Kamala is doing, it used to be that they tried to make people afraid of Trump. If you're afraid of Trump, then you'll vote for the only other possibility in Harris.
Yeah.
But people aren't afraid of Trump and what he represents. So instead, she's doing a lot of smiling and party kind of stuff. And it sounds like that's what they're doing in the GOP. If you can get people in either a fearful state or an excitable state, they're not going to be able to use their heads and discern as well. So get them so pumped up in a rally that they're just laughing and cheering, and then they're not using their head and asking like, oh, that doesn't sound right. And that's what she was doing. Like, she's looking around at the high school cheer party and going, maybe I want to cheer for the other team.
Yeah. All right, 30 seconds, Ralph, and then 30 seconds, David. We're going to close this thing up for today. I love you guys.
No, I'm good. Let's move on.
David?
I would say, go back to ivermectin and treatments for COVID. There's a lot of information on the internet now. I found a few articles just while we were sitting here. And if a doctor's not doing what you want them to do, find another doctor.
Yeah, that paper you posted in the chat that looks like a pretty cool paper.
Where is it? Let me see if I can find it a minute.
That bottom one.
Scholar comment. Okay, hang on. Let me throw that in there real quick. And
please keep us posted about your mom.
I will. It's like it's a fight that I'm used to fighting with it because I'll go into hospitals and go toe to toe with people just because it says, okay, error, this is an invalid URL. The heck? Oh, hang on. I see. I didn't get the last little S here in it. Let me see.
Well, while you're doing that, I would say we're all waking up to the fact that if the news is telling you something, ivermectin's going to kill you, it's a horse dewormer, it's probably the actual opposite of whatever they're saying. Trump is going to start World War III. Trump colluded with Russia. Whatever they say, it's the opposite.
Well, remember, if you've got somebody that was diagnosed with incurable cancer who's doing pretty darn good right now, there's another reason. There's other ways of hitting the mark. Thank you guys for being on. I love you so much, and thanks for being gracious with bringing somebody else on here today because I figured that was a timely thing to get out there. Was that okay with you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that worked great.
It's your show. Okay. You do what you want.
It's kind of our show. You guys have been faithful to me. It's like you can't believe, and you're good friends, and it's like you're the last people I would want to offend on the planet just because I love you all. So
yeah, no problem. I'm looking forward to hearing what the journalist panel has to say too.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, I'll be back in just a real short break, and we'll be back with Citizen Journalist panel. Give me just a few minutes, and we'll be right back. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it is the 16th day of August 24 and welcome to our show. And I'm going to invite everybody on today. Dr. David's going to stay with me here a minute. So how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Really good. Thanks for joining this morning, guys. And always glad to see you guys and hear what you have to say. So lots of weird crap going on out there.
I think you're on mute.
You're on mute, Hollis. Might have to leave and come back on or something. It's not coming through. So, okay, 1 minute. Well, Casey, why don't you get started here because we've got a couple of things happening in Coeur d'Alene. I'm going to go ahead and copy David's thing and put it on my Telegram channel, which is at Brandenburg #4MI. There's imposters out there, so you got to go to the one that I tell you that's the actual address of. So there you go.
Yeah, so there's a recent conviction actually of an Antifa member in Oregon 2 days ago on August 14th or 15th. I'm sorry, 14th. Yeah, I think it was the 14th.
Do you want to play the video?
I'm trying to figure out where to start. I think if you could pull up the article from the Post Millennial.
Yep, I can do that.
Because that has all the information in it. Because reporter Katie Davis Court was following the 5-day jury trial of Alyssa Azar. And Alyssa Azar essentially, from what it sounds like, had planned a protest at a park in Oregon City, Oregon, which is on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, in 2021. I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head. It's in the Post-Millennial article. And so essentially at this event, there was the Proud Boys, there was Antifa, and Alyssa Azar, who claims to be a journalist. Essentially, she goes around getting information for Antifa. A lot of times in these, when Antifa is on the streets, you'll have a photographer who has a mask on. You can't tell their identity, and they're taking pictures. And so that's basically what Alyssa would do. She'd go around and she would take pictures and get information for the organization. And so she had used bear mace, I guess, on a woman at this protest. And you can play that video if you want, just to give people sort of an idea.
Wow.
And so if the video continues to play and it shows that before the event starts, Antifa goes to their vehicle and gets weapons. And it shows intent. And essentially, Alyssa Azar is known as a ringleader in Rose City Antifa. And so essentially, it's a big deal because a lot of times Antifa has not been held accountable for a lot of things that they do. And so she's basically, I believe, the first one essentially being held to account. So this was outside of Portland. It was in Clackamas County. I'm not sure if that actually is in, I believe that, I'm not sure if Portland's part of that or not. I don't have that map in front of me right now. But anyways, it wasn't in Portland. It was on the outskirts of Portland, essentially. And so after the 5-day jury trial, she was charged with riot, which is a felony. And then there's 2 other charges. One was using mace or tear gas as a weapon in the 2nd degree or something to that effect. It's in the article there. It mentions it. I just don't have it right in front of me here. And so the jury trial is really interesting because the defense called a gentleman to the stand. Let me pull up my notes here. So essentially, Shane Burley, who's known as, he's written 2 books on anti-fascism, and he was on the witness stand for the defense, and essentially he trained Antifa in 2017, Rose City Antifa, and so on how to use, let me find it here if I have it right in front of me. There's a link here. Let me just kind of read this here this is from Katie Davis Court. She was in the courtroom during the 5-day jury trial, and she says, what to know, Deputy DA Josh Coutinho destroyed Shane Burley during cross-examination to the point Alyssa Azar's defense attorney canceled all witness after his testimony. And it goes on to say that Burley testified as for the defense as an expert witness on anti-fascism. Coutinho, the DA, then used his expert testimony to argue his case against Azar. In other words, Burley actively helped Coutinho convict Alyssa. And she goes on to say that Burley initially testified that Antifa can exist in organized groups, but backtracked after Coutinho asked him about Rose City Antifa. Burley lied under oath and said that Rose City Antifa is not an organization, nor is he involved with it. And then essentially the DA brought up the Rose City Antifa website, proving it's an organization, embarrassing him. And then, he did actually train Antifa also in 2017. So it blew up in their face. And then at that point, I think the jury was able to see through it. So there's more to this, of course, but the Antifa packed the courtroom and they were basically trying to intimidate the jurors that were there. And it sounds like people are being threatened, outside of the courtroom. There was some harassment from Antifa to Katie Davis Court, the reporter there, and some other people. And actually, after the verdict was read, one of the members of Rose City Antifa, John Hacker, who actually attacked Andy Ngo a couple years ago and was convicted of it, attacked a gentleman across the street and was arrested for assault. And now his case is in October in Clackamas. So it's a very interesting situation. So
why haven't they been designated as a domestic terrorist organization? because they are. The damage they've done in Black Lives Matter should literally be categorized as a domestic terrorism.
Well, we know why. I mean, it's being used by the political opposition to target a group of people, and so I mean, we understand the dichotomy here that you know, we have these radical left people that are in office, and they're just turning a blind eye to a lot of this. So now there's actually some people with backbone that are standing up to this. And, you know, Antifa does intimidate people. So now the jurors are probably a little concerned. I know there was the judge is, I saw some tweet about the judge. So, you know, this is an ongoing thing. These, you know, a lot of people they're very radical. And they have no problem with violence. And actually, that gentleman that we talked about earlier, who was on the stand for Alyssa, you know, he promotes violence essentially through because they see what Antifa is a good thing, you know, to fight Nazis. And so it's Solowinski tactics for sure. So anyways. Yeah. There's more to that. Alyssa Azar was in Coeur d'Alene in 2022 with Antifa, and I filmed them, and it was really interesting because they were at an event, a Pride in the Park event, and they showed up, and they were dressed nicely. Two of the members were dressed like Antifa, and one of them, Robert Stom, was arrested by the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, and then the remaining members of the Antifa group from Rose City Antifa were basically berating a cop to try to get him. You know, he was being arrested to try to get him off the hook, which didn't work. But one of the gals grabbed my camera right in front of the police and everything. And then not long after that, they were one of the members in their party, Abigail Denner, was arrested for having cannabis. And so I released body camera of them getting arrested. And so Alyssa's been here before. And so it's just really interesting to see that they're finally being held to account. And if you want to, if you have time, if you guys are interested, you could play that interview with Alyssa to kind of get a feel for who this person is. It's that second link I posted in the chat room there. It's just a couple minute long video, but it sort of gives you an idea of who this person is, and then kind of what she does, because I married in the footage I took in 2022.
If I can go big on this a minute. Nope, hang on a minute. I will be right back.
But I suggest you go read the article from the Post Millennial. Just look up the Post Millennial and then look up, Azar, Azar, and you'll find the article. And it'll give you all the information, really, really good information. And I have something in the wings I'm not going to talk about right now, but I have a little surprise for everybody coming soon. That should be pretty popular. So I'll just leave it at that.
Let's see if you can hear this. It's going to be quiet because it's the video or the audio is quiet on this, but let's see if we can hear it.
Independent journalist who covers right-wing violence, mainly in the Pacific Northwest. Alyssa Azar, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
On Saturday, there was an event in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which was called Pride in the Park. People kind of created their own little prayer in the park marches and stuff like that from their own groups to take place.
So if you could stop it there for a second. So she's that poster I just posted there. What happened was the Pride in the Park people found out a couple days prior that a Catholic rosary walk was planned at an adjacent park, and so they contacted an Idaho State Patrol officer who's friendly to them, and as actually part of their organization that put on this Pride event, and asked that they report this Catholic rosary walk to the FBI and police department, and they did. And so that poster is an internal flyer within the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, letting the officers know about this Catholic rosary walk that's happening at the same time as the Pride in the Park event, which had a drag queen dance party in 2022. That's the same day, June 11th, 2022. We talked about this last time, where the 31 members of Patriot Front were also arrested. So there's a lot of real coincidental things. So anyways, but that happened right before Patriot Front was arrested when they were downtown Coeur d'Alene. So you can play the rest of it, and then there's some other video in there.
Pride in the Park event taking place, and then all these different right-wing and Christo-fascist groups also kind of conjugating in the same spot. The group that was present at the Pride in the Park event, I don't want to speak for everybody. There were definitely anti-fascists who were there, but for the most
Who is that you had circled, or that was circled in that?
That's Alyssa Azar. She's wearing, she's disguised. She's wearing purple hair, but that's her.
Okay.
So she's posing as a journalist, but she's with, you'll see these other Antifa members with her, right? And they're all dressed really nice. And that was what confused me when I saw them. I'm like, they're acting like Antifa. They're shaking this cop down, but they're dressed really nicely. And you'll see in a little bit what I'm talking about here.
part, these were like, this was like a very liberal demographic. There were cops that were, walking back and forth in the Pride in the Park event. One of the Coeur d'Alene cops is actually is on the same board as the group who kind of put the whole Pride in the Park event together. When I was there on Saturday, they kept calling anyone who would try to argue with them about whatever bullshit they were spewing. They're like, oh, you're Antifa, aren't you? You're Antifa, aren't you?
Did you see the
Ma'am,
oh, wow.
please, yeah.
Can you not back into me? That's what I'm trying to do.
You're trying to get my way, and I try though. Tell Antifa said hi.
And, when they say that, obviously they don't just mean literally, are you an anti-fascist? But, they mean this like crazy made up Fox News version of Antifa that's being bussed in from, liberal cities.
Right. Do you receive your monthly salary from Antifa HQ in Portland and, with multiple different facilities in New York City and Chicago? And yeah, of course. The Antifa super soldiers parachuting in.
Pretty early on in the day, there was an anti-fascist who was there.
So that's Robert John Stom on the left, and he was arrested for throwing himself on the hood of a car. So that's what he gets arrested for here, because he tried to start an incident. And so he's with his other Antifa buddy who looks like he has an AR-15, and Chief Lee White in the Coeur d'Alene Police Department basically trespassed them from the park. And he gets arrested.
Because they told them that they were going to be arrested if they didn't get off the property, and we're going to get them with trespassing, even though, mind you, there were hundreds of armed fascists in the park that they didn't seem to mind having weapons on them. And then, not long after that, there was also a group of fascists who started assaulting and harassing a very visibly trans woman. And
so she's calling him a trans woman.
Like that makes everything okay.
For no good reason, and just left the fascists alone. As far as what you just asked about, more like militant anti-fascists who would fight back and, be able to provide protection for when the cops aren't doing it.
They're all dressed real nicely.
All these innocent people who are just trying to enjoy Pride. Yeah, that wasn't a factor there. That, at least not
Rose City Antifa.
There were a handful of people who are anti-fascists and, maybe even militant anti-fascists, but when you are in that kind of a demographic or location, and you're one of the only one or one of the few, there is only so much you can do without police retaliation.
You guys are so green. This is hilarious. I love it. Who are you guys with? Oh, excuse me, sir.
They stopped blocking.
No, I'm in public. Hey.
Filming. Stop.
Hey, you want me to grab my camera?
You literally just hit me in the back 3 times with that.
No, I didn't. No. They're trying to instigate.
That's pretty much it.
Was that when they hit Andy?
What's that?
Was that when she hit Andy? Or who did she?
No. Andy was attacked by this John Hacker guy.
Okay.
It's a different incident. So no, I'm just saying
So that was you that she went after.
Right. Yeah. So I never dealt with Antifa, but I was like, they're acting like Antifa, but they don't look like it. And then later to find out that was Alyssa Azar with the purple hair, who was just arrested, and she's a major player in Rose City Antifa. So, that situation is kind of funny in retrospect, because it was like I couldn't, I was a little deceived. I was like, they're dressed really nice. They can't be Antifa, but they're acting like it, So, anyways, I don't know if that was boring or not, but I just want to share some of that, and I suggest people go read that article, because it's kind of a milestone. Maybe things will start to change a little bit. Maybe
what the heck do these people want? I mean, what is this? What are the Antifa what do they want?
Well, they
But I
want,
don't even know
social
who's-
justice, and it's all part and parcel to the Marxist agenda. And, I mean, a lot of it does tie into Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 to have, everything is equality,
So they're basically
that's-
being paid by the UN or the government to create chaos.
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if money's necessary. I mean, I think it's more of just an ideology, because I think some of these people don't, they don't look like they have really anything. Some of these people are not dressed well. They're not taken care of at all. So I don't know. I think I think a lot of it's ideology, honestly.
One thing I can tell you they don't have is none of them have a brain, because they're fighting against those very systems that are here to protect them, but not in a violent manner.
Yeah, so it's just it's interesting, anyways. So hopefully things, hopefully some of these people start being held accountable. So
I wonder why President Trump, when he was in office, did not declare them a terrorist organization. Or maybe he didn't. We don't know.
I don't think he did, but my question on, or my observation on that is, I think that they were letting people commit crimes and taking names for a future ass-kicking event.
Yeah.
And that will be my guess is what's going on here, because they were allowing people. I think there's a couple of manuals out there that say that there was a point where they had to have them committing crimes after a date. And I have a feeling that they were allowing this to go as the biggest sting in the history of the world. And I think that this is probably still what's going on, letting people commit the crimes and picking them off one at a time for their crimes as they commit them. And if you watch the planes as much as I do, it gives you a lot of things to question when you see a lot of planes and things going to areas where you're pretty extra sure there's blackout sites and such, and then all of a sudden transponders go off. There's a lot of questions that you need to ask. Nothing is as it seems, and I think that's a good starting point for asking questions, and not just swallowing things hook, line, and sinker here as you're reeled into fake news Stupidville.
and if you
Trump
want a little bit more, sorry, go ahead.
No, Trump said something very interesting yesterday. If anyone listened to him, he said he was talking about people that have come into the country. He said, "We know the names and serial numbers of every person every bad guy and person who's come into our country illegally. Name and serial number and location of every one of them." Something's going on.
Well, let me show you that. I was at the Vance rally yesterday, and let's see, yesterday. I'm losing my mind here as far as I want to show you what they played while we were there. David, you're gonna bang out of this. So I thought this was kind of cool, because this was a scene from the end of Some of All Fears, and it's Nessun Dorma, and we were there, and this was playing there, which I think is amazing.
And we all know what this means. Justice is coming.
That has a meaning.
It does.
A hidden meaning. Folks, I got to run. I got to take my dad somewhere. Casey, Hollis, Dan, Donna. Great
All right,
seeing you.
thanks for being on today, David.
Take care.
Keep
Yeah,
up the fight.
You too. Thanks for everything, David. Love you to pieces. And we got to
Okay,
talk about that PMA a little bit more and get that thing moving. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
good. Say hi to your dad.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye. So, yeah, so I still can't hear you, Hollis. Oh, now
Hello.
the phone, I think.
Sorry, you could definitely hear me, right?
Yeah, I
Get
can
it
hear you
together,
just fine.
man.
Yeah. The reason why I'm not on camera is because I did my show last night. I did about 5 hours of radio, and I've been sick, but definitely feeling it today. So my
You got
apologies.
that low radio voice on. This is Dan. Hi, good morning,
Hi.
everyone. He's
Welcome.
got that. Welcome to our show.
Yes. So I'm literally sitting across the studio off camera with the mic. I don't know why Hollis is having the mic issues this time. So many apologies, but I want to say just a quick comment. I love that song, and I think that's definitely code and a sign of what's to come. And I look forward to it. And I say this as an old school activist. I've said this many times, but you know, these Antifa folk, and there is monies going to the Antifa leadership, like BLM leadership. I did a whole breakdown, and we had some FOIA stuff back in the day showing where a lot of these monies go for the high up Antifa organizations. The people on the ground don't get them, except for big staged events where they pay them $12-13 an hour to go for the duration of the event, etc.
Hello.
There you got it.
Okay, good. I don't know why. I just clicked my setting. Sorry, guys.
You
Go
good?
ahead.
Oh, I could hear myself. I'm sorry, Hollis. But you know, can you hear the feedback?
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second.
Y'all are married. You could probably share a microphone there.
Let me come over there. I'll come over to him. Sorry,
There you
guys.
Well, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
See, she finally. Oh,
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
it's
Should I come over there?
yeah.
Okay, do you want me to? All right, there we go. So we've got an empty chair for Hollis, and Hollis and Dan are on the other one.
You could boot that other one.
Yeah, I'm going to remove it. There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
So, and Hollis, you could just there you go. You got it. You know what's up. So yeah, so a lot of these higher ups do receive monies. We got that breakdown a while ago. I mean, Casey, you're a better person than I. I always said back in the day when we had these little variations of protests back in the rallies and things like that. It was Code Pink was the militant ones back in 2007 to 2010, and a couple other organizations. As I say, when they, you know, one of the ways I preach peace. I always do, always have. But if they ever put hands on, I'm going to beat the living hell out of whoever touches me, and I'm going to take out as many as that are around me. And I don't give a good goddamn as to what the outcome would be about that. With that, and I know what they're doing. I know it's you know, I'm very aware of how they're acting and what the game plan is, but I'm still a avid believer in when they go to make an example, set a precedent. And I represent a large contingent of those who were old school activists that, you know, you haven't seen us out there during these new times. We kind of sat back and watched, and this is something that I definitely like Ivan and all of them. These are people that I really admire, and there's a large grouping of us, Donna. But when we start getting back out there really prominently in the activism front, you know, out there holding rallies, I could just say that one, it's not just gonna be one of us that, you know, you could lay hands first because these little pussies can't fight for shit. But they could lay hands first. But when it does happen, they are going to receive their comeuppance tenfold, because those of us who have been dormant are the ones that could do the most damage, but we have not been pushed to that. And we're not seeking to do that. But at the same time, we will defend ourselves. And I could assure you that. So it's sickening what they do. And good work, Casey, for exposing the little freaks that like to use the press as their you know, their cover, if you will. And the whole history of Antifa, it's sickening, it's pathetic. They show how brainwashed, dumb, naive. They truly are. They sit there, they were attacking the groups that were out there holding anti-mask rallies, and Antifa was attacking because they're fascist. I mean, they don't realize how dumb they're sounding. Some do in the higher levels, but they just know how to court the minions and court the stupid, if you will. So they throw on their best pair of skinny jeans, put on their little mask, and they go out there. And I'm a big advocate. I always say, you don't ever hit a woman, but I like when I see the women that go and they hit people with wrenches and they hit people with rocks. And then, there's some famous video of those few, very few, who did defend themselves. And one particular video where the woman gets punched right in the face by the guy, and that's a woman. Equality. And I think it's great. You know what? If you act out in a way where you're committing crimes, no matter who you are, you get what you deserve. And that's not a threat. That's a warning. That's a warning. And it should be taken as such because, again, we are the ones that they don't know that they fear, but they should, because we're a different breed. And that's what it comes down to. Everything they're trying to do, they do poorly. As I've said on the radio countless times, if we were the things that they accused us of being, we wouldn't light a storefront on fire. We would burn down a city, and we do it in a matter of minutes. We know how to do the things that they allege that we're doing and that they try to do piss poorly, and they have to do it in massive numbers because you're basically congregating the stupid. But if pushed to that level, it would be very bad for them, and we won't go there. But when it comes to defending oneself or defending the innocent people around, they had best watch out because their days are numbered. And I look forward to what's to come. So, and there's a lot of people having revelations, and the ground soldiers, if you will, of BLM and Antifa. There's so many that have been funded by the same people. And it gets kind of nauseating having to remind everybody who these same organizations are. We've proven in the past that organizations on the alleged right and left are funded by the same organizations that all funnel to Alex Soros, that funnel up to the big one himself and various other groups. It's so obvious. It's so weak. It's so pathetic. But this is a day and age. But everything will be revealed. It's being revealed, but everything will be revealed. Everything.
Is there a list out there that you know of, a public list of these Antifa freaks that like to hide, and the BLM freaks that were playing along with the corporation? Because I really think that the corporations or the agencies backing them, they should be sued for all the damages of their employees and or the ones they have recruited to do their dirty work.
Totally agree. There are some lists out there. And we could definitely get something ready for you for next week. So you could,
you could probably easily find it if you just search for it. I know I've seen things like that before, and you can go to antifawatch.com. I think it is. Maybe I'm not sure if that's.
Go there and see what we
not sure if it's .com, but you can find if you have people in your area, you're not sure of who they are. You can search through their database and see if they are an Antifa member. So I suggest that people check that out, and then. If you are, wherever you are in the country, if you see Antifa, you can take pictures and submit it to Antifa Watch, and they'll add it to their database. I think it's good to know that. I was going to suggest, if you want to, I just went to a United Jesus Walk Revival. I'm not sure if that title's, it's something like that. It's a national event where this group will show up at major cities, and then they'll have a, they'll play music, they'll preach, and then they'll go and walk around the city. And so that's what happened in Portland about a month ago. And so I don't know if you want to play that first video there, but it'll give people a flavor of kind of what we encountered that day. And it was pretty eye-opening. I've never dealt with Antifa like that before, but just to see these grown people act like children was really eye-opening. We had like right that's the group. Yep.
And then where do I find the video?
Oh, the video's right there in the chat, actually. It's just that second to last link I posted.
Got it.
It says Antifa shows up at United Revival Jesus March.
Okay.
The second to last one.
Yep, got it.
Okay. And so it's
Just
kind of a collage of a couple of different events. What's that?
Pretend like I'm your slow little sister.
No worries. No worries. And in one of the in the video, there's actually is John Hacker, and John attacked. John was the one who just attacked the gentleman after the verdict of Jalise Azar just 2 days ago. So I'll point him out. But a child was accidentally pepper sprayed or maced, and so he was trying to help the child. So like one of the Antifa members actually brought their child to the event while they're doing all these heinous things. So this is my friend here, Quincy Franklin, who's known as the Black Conservative Preacher, and I want to have him come on your show sometime. He said he would. He's a real great guy. So I went with him to this event, and he does a lot of live streaming. So if you can go to his channel, the Black Conservative Preacher, the BC Preacher. He's from Portland, actually, and he moved to where I live now in North Idaho, so we're really good friends. And so he went to Portland, and he was kind of showing me the ropes. He remembers a lot of these things, and there's actually a video of he and I outside the courthouse, outside the police station, downtown Portland, and it's all boarded up still to this day. So this is kind of a little intro with Quincy here.
Okay.
It's Quincy Franklin here, the BC Preacher. You can find me on every single platform, the BC Preacher. Here in Portland, Oregon, it's July 13th, 2024. Today is the United Revival Jesus March happening in Pioneer Square in the heart of Portland, Oregon. We're at the pre-show right now. What I mean by pre-show is that they're warming up, the musicians are warming up, people are gathering here, and we are surrounded by a presence of leftists, a presence of Antifa, Black Bloc. They're starting to show up and intimidate people. A few moments ago, there was someone here just yelling down at all the people who came here to worship Jesus. So that's what's been happening today is people are coming here, getting ready to worship the Lord.
Kid shows up with a bong.
Liberals, God-hating Antifa are coming here to start problems while people worship the one and only Savior, Jesus Christ.
People that are dual genders, yeah? So why don't you say something to your little fucking peg-ass fucking homeboy, huh? Are you suggesting that there are...
Yes, the glory, the power, the victory, Christ!
We will fuck you up! We're gonna run your fucking doggies out of our fucking city! This is our fucking city! This is our city! Let's back out here!
Do you feel intimidated, Dan?
I'm terrified. Oh.
He's the Messiah, the Savior of the world! Jesus Christ reigns here and now!
Look at that
That was a
radical.
collage. I can't remember. I do so many videos, I can't remember which is. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, my God.
So they showed up at the back of the stage here, and they pulled the power from the stage while they were performing.
Is that a violation of First Amendment rights?
Well, you know, it's Portland. They don't do anything. The police actually backed out at the last minute. They were supposed to back this event up, and they contacted the organizers 30 minutes before the event and said they wouldn't be there. So the security had to handle it, basically. So they disconnected the power from the stage there. That got a little heated. One guy was bear maced. One of the security people were bear maced. That's one. There's another one here of a tourist. Oh, this is right. So that's John Hacker holding that kid there. He was the one that attacked the gentleman across the street the other day after the verdict in the Jalise Azar trial. So that poor kid got some mace in his eye or something.
What kind of a dad would bring their kids to something like this? What an idiot.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy.
It's sad. And then here they're actually they threaten I think this is the one where they threaten a tourist.
Here, you're getting close to us. I have two friends right now that are two females. With all the fucking cameras. Okay, well, you have a nice day.
Yeah, so you see these green hats? They're the National Lawyers Guild, so they are hanging out with Antifa to try to find conservatives that do something to Antifa so they can file a lawsuit against them. So this guy here, they think he's Proud Boys because he's wearing a shirt that looks like Proud Boys, but he's actually from another country, and he's going like, what? He's like, he doesn't know what they're talking about, and they're telling him to get out of there.
Cowards covering their faces. What a bunch of cowards.
He's saying, I'm just a tourist. He sounds like he's got a different accent and everything. So I asked the security guard what he said or what was going on.
Well, he has on a lighter golden color. Almost looks like it's like faded, but it looks like the yellow, but it's the exact same shirt of the Proud Boys International. So that's why I thought maybe he was part of the Proud Boy chapters. Maybe they were talking to him because of that shirt, but yeah, he definitely sounds like a tourist. But yeah.
Wow.
So anyways, it gives you a little flavor.
That's unbelievable.
Little anorexic looking wannabe Ninja Turtle style look there. It's it's really intimidating. Yeah, I don't know what's more intimidating, their face masks, their shades, or black with pink on them, or their their scarves. I mean, they're really really intimidating. It's just such a crock, and
I like Ninja Turtle look.
It's so stupid. I mean, I was talking about this on the show, and it's like, in reality, it's shame on, and I'm not saying like the regular people there trying to hold the event and things like that, but over the course of years, we've allowed this to happen. And that's the shame of it. These people, it's like anything else. They take their liberties because we give them an inch, they take a mile. Antifa shows up, people run. Don't run. I can't understand it. I do to a degree because I know what they do, and they do their little lawfare and everything's on their side. But I've seen so many people get jumped and assaulted, and there's a larger crowd of those being assaulted by the little, freaks out there, and they all take off. They all run away. Don't run. It's, I don't know. I have such candid, poignant thoughts on these things. And it's just because I could tell you, Donna, Casey, back in the day when we were holding our rallies, I mean, they'd show up and they just come up and they smack somebody over the head with a skateboard. And we're talking, it's a senior citizen getting smacked over the head. We were protesting Vicente Fox in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. They come and they hit this senior citizen, this older lady, over the head with a skateboard. And they're sitting there cheering. And these were the same folks was before they decided, oh, we're Antifa. And they're sitting there cheering it on. You know what happened? We chased them down. We beat the living hell out of them. And we dragged them over to the cops because we had everything on camera. We had everything on camera. Because we knew then what you need to do to cover your ass. And this was, technology wasn't the same in 2007, but we had everything we needed to cover. We also had somebody filming the cops watching it happen and allowing it to happen and doing nothing. So we made a citizen's arrest. And when they ran and we chased them down and we cordoned them off, they decided to start throwing punches. And again, we didn't attack them first, but once they did, and we had their crime on tape, at the time I happened to be a cop as well. So that was my little, top secret thing. But we did what needed to be done, and we dragged their asses over to them and said, now take them into custody. And they did. They were forced to. But, there's methodologies, there's ways to overcome this, but it involves being a little bit fearless and a little bit brave and confronting those who commit crimes, commit felonies in front of you. And instead of waiting to be a victim, I don't want to steal a Candace Owens term, but be the victor. Show some bravery, actually confront evil with justice and whatever that looks like. So I keep saying this because I know where it's going. I know where it's going to go between now and November. I know what's going to happen in November to January 20th. I know exactly where this is going. And I assure you, there's a large grouping of us that are unafraid. We've been waiting, sitting idly by. You wait for others to kind of step up and do the right thing. But instead, I see people run. No, That's going to change. And again, I can't reiterate enough. We preach peace, but when you commit that atrocity, when you commit that crime, when you commit something that is an affront to, people's personal safety, etc., expect true resistance and expect retaliation of the most righteous of ways, in the most righteous of ways.
Well, and they want to use, our faith against us and say, well, Jesus, they're going to preach Gentile Jesus with a lamb on his foot. And they forget the fact that, that he was a provocateur, flipped over tables and kicked the criminal money changers out of the temple and got back to what was real. I mean, God is a God of law and order. And, they think they've got a pass because they've got everybody buffaloed and thinking, oh, we're just going to go along to get along. We're not going to say anything. We're going to close our NGO churches down because we don't want to offend anybody. We're going to put our masks on. We're not going to do what needs to be done. That sort of thing. That time has come to the end.
Yes.
And I think that it's going to be a very shocking realization when they try to pull it again. It's not going to work, because what they did is they woke a sleeping lion, and that time in history is over.
Amen. And that's the thing. And that's why it is so imperative. And I say this not as a love fest or because I feel obligated to, but I mean, the man doesn't even know that I speak about him on my show. But, people like Casey, it's so imperative that he does what he does and putting the truth out there and exposing these things and capturing it the way he does. We need more people like that, because people are so prone to, they'll put something on camera after the fact, or you see one side. Casey's like a last bastion of actual putting truth out there, documenting it all. We need people like that as well, because, what's to come, it's going to be relying upon, we got to match these losers on that side, where this is all they live to be victims. They live for reasons to sue. They live for capturing that one angle and missing everything else. We need people like Casey, like Joel Fisher, like all these other ones out there that actually capture it all. We'll say unbiased because they're capturing it all, regardless of Casey's personal feelings. But what he's doing, that is so imperative, especially with what's to come. And again, I don't want any of that. I want nothing but peace. I want nothing but unity. But sometimes that has to be fought for, if you will. And something needs to be done, because you're not going to change things by going along doing the same things you always do and allowing it.
I'm sorry to step on you. There's a little bit of a lag here. A normal person would look at what this chick did and with the bear spray and all that nonsense and say, this is assault. This is a criminal behavior, or the gal that hit your phone or tried to take your phone in the park there. That is a criminal. That's assault. And some of the other stuff going on where they're just there to disrupt or create a problem. That's a huge problem. Especially, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's criminal conspiracy to do damage to other people in the United States. That means it's a terrorist organization, highly funded and backed to, I hate to say it, but maybe I should go there and say, look at the fake stream media. It's part of this terrorist organization that they use to mislead, set things up, show up and have rigged questions. And I mean, you don't have to be throwing a punch to be part of it.
They're the propagandist arm. They're doing their part, and I, like you, believe that groups like this will be designated, accordingly once Trump gets back in. And I also agree there was reasons why things weren't done, the first time around. But, all need to be held accountable. And that's not just wishful thinking. That's not just saying, oh, I want these bastards to pay. No, they deserve repercussions for their actions over the years, and the amount of people that have been hurt and the amount of people that have died because of their actions. I mean, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I apologize. Remember that time where the Trump supporter was hunted down and literally shot and killed? Was that in Portland? I don't remember. I can't think of his name. I apologize that it escapes me, but literally, go ahead, Casey.
Oh, well, I know one kid was shot in Portland, Jay. I don't know if that's who you're talking about, but
I believe that is. I can't think of his last name.
I think it is.
But
He's friends with Joey Gibson and
yes, yes.
yeah.
Patriot Prayer. Yes.
Yeah, Joey's a friend of mine.
Great people, literally hunted down and murdered. You know what? This is because they are allowed to continue to thrive because of the cover being, just provided for them by the media, provided for them by these, in my opinion, terrorist organizations that go and do the lawfare, and just it's gone to that extreme. And once it does, you have to meet that action with extreme adverse reaction, but always on the righteous side. But when it comes down to it, be prepared. And like I say, there's many of us in this country that are ready. And like you said, Donna, awoken a sleeping lion is an understatement, because they will get what they deserve. And I'd rather it didn't come to that, but inevitability.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get, was an
still
article on Jay. Yeah, there you go. I just posted an article from NBC there.
Okay,
they call Patriot Prayer far right. I had Joey Gibson spoke at an event in 2020 called Liberate America in Coeur d'Alene, and I had Joey Gibson speak at it along with Ammon Bundy and a bunch of other people. And yeah, Jay was a really good friend of Joey's. He's part of Patriot Prayer, the same group that Joey runs. And there's Joey there. So they were actually they had to get out of, they had to go blocks being surrounded by Antifa, basically. And somehow they weren't killed, but I know Joey was really freaked out, obviously. So their friend Jay was, his real name is Aaron. He goes by Jay. And so he was ambushed by Antifa. And then Joey, yeah, there you go. There's the Trump. Yeah, so they're having a Trump flag wave through Portland. That's right. And I don't know quite what happened, and maybe in the article it says, but they were on the streets, and then Jay gets shot. He gets ambushed and shot, and then Joey and some of the other members had to try to, they were being chased by Antifa, and somehow they got out of there without being hurt, but it was very dicey.
How is it that not one of these people were prosecuted? I mean, look at the nonsense they're going with the thugs, the wannabe super soldier, gutless cowards that were fighting on J6 to target Americans, just Americans doing nothing. How is it that these pieces of crap can go and chase people down that are there for a prayer, for prayer and for the caravan of Trump supporters? The same thing kind of that happened to the J6ers, only they didn't go far enough, where they were targeting people who were praying and just trying to be peaceful and being supportive and that sort of thing. Why is it that these gutless cowards refuse to prosecute these Antifa, and I'm going to call them little pukes, that are out there? And I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but this is a moment of turning the tables over and calling them what they are. They're gutless cowards. They're paid infiltrators. They're agents of chaos and destruction, and they're cowardly little pukes. Because I'm pretty sure if they came face to face with somebody like you, Dan, or Ivan, or somebody who's served in the military, it's going to be a whole new ball game.
Yep.
That is not going to go well at all.
Justice will come for them.
Justice will come.
And that's what I mean. It shouldn't come down to that, but it's because of too many situations where it's been allowed to happen. And believe me, we're certainly not afraid. I'll put it to you like that. And it's just one of those things where they're going to learn the hard way.
Yeah, this is kind of funny. This is Joey and I, we organized a protest. Joey Gibson and I organized a protest in, was this in Pullman or Moscow? I think this is in Pullman, Washington. Yeah, Washington State University. And so we wanted to have this was during COVID, and we were trying to have a gathering at a park near the college, and no one really showed up. We had 10 people. And we found out this police department, small little college town, flew a drone over us. Because we were not following the COVID guidelines. We were having a barbecue, so we had a little barbecue, and then we drove around the campus. And Joey had a bullhorn, and he was telling the college kids, you have the right to party and all this and not listen to the COVID mandates. So we were doing some hell raising. So we had a little convoy, and then I'm in the back of a truck filming Joey do some bullhorning. And so just to give you a flavor of Joey Gibson, he's a really great guy.
Okay,
and,
here we
Come on now. This is 2020. We are living in a history right here, right now. How much do you want to participate in this fight for freedom? How much do you want to participate in this fight for truth? How much do you want to participate in fighting for the Constitution? A right that is not exercised is a right that is lost.
This is pretty short.
It's hilarious.
The ending's pretty funny. So we had some people on campus that were not happy we were doing this. So some kids were driving by, flipping us off, and
Martin Luther King Jr. said that we gotta love one another. We gotta treat each other with respect. Come on. Come on now. Come talk to us. Have love. Love. Come on. Let's have love. No more hatred. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. Come on now.
Not MLK fans, I guess.
Really important, really.
so they're going to come back by here in a second, that car.
Martin Luther King Jr. said that we have to have love for each other. Come on now. Treat each other. Come on now.
She shoves her beer behind.
Come on now. Put your phone away. Come on now. Come on now.
All right, I'm sure her parents are very proud right now.
Yeah. Anyways, so we went to the police department that day. Trying to remember there was some reason specifically why. I think the police were shaking down somebody, so we went there and protested too. So, anyways, one of the many examples of fun we had during COVID. So
I love you
rolled with
guys.
Ammon Bundy quite a bit. I have a lot of stories. So
I love you guys. This is awesome. So, well, do you have any 30 seconds? Last things to say, last words for today, and then I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll bring in my next guest, the J6ers, political prisoners in America on American soil. And we're not going to shut up or stop until every single one of these people, like little Miss Bare Butt there, your butt is not cute. All I can say, you have not a cute butt. Okay, that
always the fat sloppy ones.
It's like it ceased to be cute when you were maybe like 3 days old. Oh, look, and only your mother thought it was cute then. So anyhow, and nobody thinks you're cute now. Okay, so save it to yourself. Keep your body parts to home. So anyhow, 30 seconds, Casey.
yeah, I guess people can just follow me on Twitter or X, Casey_Whalen, WHALEN. I'm on Substack, CaseyWhalen.substack.com, and on Rumble, North Idaho Exposed. So different aspects of different platforms have different content, obviously. So thank you so much, Donna and Dan and Hollis. Love you guys.
I post you. I always put I tag you in all of my posts so that people can see your name, so that I just try to bring your so if you go to my X account, you'll find Casey and Dan and everyone that I find is an inspiring individual. I usually tag him in my posts. Easy to find. Dan.
Love you, Donna. And Hollis and I love you all. You can find us, Voice of the People USA Radio Network at VOPUSARadio.com, VOPUSARadio.com, on Rumble at VOPUSA Radio. Give us a follow, give us a share, and check out new digital book that was created by Hollis, a 29-page expose, if you will, of who the New World Order is. It's basically the Agenda 20 New World Order Globalists for Dummies. And it is perfect. It is wonderful. And you need to check it out.
Where do we find it?
You can find that on our YouTube or Rumble channel. There's a video.
Yep, there's a new video up and there's a link there. We're just asking for $1. We don't make any money. So if any, more people download it, great. But there's a lot of work put into it. And Dan's expertise, he helped me put it together. Like I think I was telling you the other day, but we were putting it together just to wake some people up, people who might be on the fence or don't know like the level that we know. We're just starting into this. So it's pretty interesting. I'll send you guys the video in a text or whatever. Just share it if you can. We appreciate it all. I love you both. Thank you for having
Love
us.
you guys. Love you guys
Love
so
ya.
much. You're wonderful. So this is the we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to the Island of Misfit Toys here on Brandenburg News Network. You know, the misfits, the ones that refuse to go along to get along and are willing to stand with for what we believe in with our last breath to protect and defend and do the right thing in front of God Almighty, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And so here we go, and I'll be right back. Thanks, guys. Morning and welcome to the third hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and I want to bring on my first guest here, or my guest in this segment, Jalise Middleton, and you've got yourself listed as Ace. Are we going by Ace or are we going by other name?
We can go by Ace.
Okay, that's good. Well, welcome to our show today. Thanks for coming on, and people are loving this J6er political prisoners in America segment. It's really become real popular, and people want to hear what everybody has to say to be able to stand together. That's the truth, and I'm just thankful that you guys are here today.
Thank you so much for having us, Donna. Thank you for shedding light on it, because so many people still don't know. And, you know, us J6ers have been in this battle for 3.5 years now. We thought the Lions would have woke up and ran to aid by now. And instead, we're still trying to go door to door, knocking on doors, telling people there's a fire. And it's such a sad place in America that by taking over the media, they took over our lives just that quick and left so many people ignorant. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity. And I'm thankful to always get to introduce my brothers and sisters, because every one of these people have become my family. You know, some a little more radical than others, but they're all my family. They really are. I love every single one of them. And so anyway, before we get started too far and introduce Ace here, I do want to make a quick shout out. We have a J6er in Kansas City that has a job. He just needs an apartment to rent, and nobody will rent to him because he's a J6er. So if one of your viewers happens to be in Kansas City and has the right connections, will you please reach out to Donna and let her know so we can get this guy connected up?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
People, you bet.
Yes. And so anyway, this is my friend Ace. He has an absolutely amazing, shocking story. And every one of us do, but I love every one of them in their own way. Some of them, like yesterday, is what Christ has been radically working in their life and in the ministry that he's leading them into. Some are shocking because of the torture that they have survived and prevailed from and even thrived. I hate to admit it, but many J6ers, the more that we were persecuted, the more we have thrived. And that's because you can't hold a good man down. So, Ace, will you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me on. It's great to speak with fellow patriots.
Ooh, you're real faint. Can you speak up?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm at the cigar lounge. I didn't want to be too loud. But yeah, so thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure speaking with fellow patriots. I'm Ace. My name is Joshua Hernandez, but I just go by Ace. But yeah, so that's me. I was sentenced to 24 months in federal prison
Did you say 44 months?
24.
24. Okay.
Mm-hmm. 24 months. I served it in Forest City, Arkansas. So it was a rough ride, but I'm free, so can't complain now.
Well, that's good. I think you do still have quite a bit to complain about, and I'm gonna peel that apart on you.
I think I got your name listed in the title as Joseph rather than Joshua. So I'm gonna have to apologize for that. We're gonna have to go back and correct that. So just so you know.
I could have sworn. I thought it said Josh. Oh, it does say Josh.
It did too.
Yeah.
He even missed it.
Yeah, well, good. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead
I
and
did too.
correct
I didn't
that.
catch it. Yeah, thank
It's
you
close
for
enough.
catching that.
I'll see if I can do it right now. So anyhow, my apologies.
For the remainder of the interview, I'll be Joseph. That's fine.
No, I'll put you in Joshua. I'll see if I can change it.
That's awesome.
There we
So,
go.
Josh, who were you before? Like, what did your life look like before January 6th? That's one thing I don't even get to know about you guys.
So before January 6th, I was just a working person. I was involved in a few different streams of revenue. I was flipping cars, buy and resell cars. I was working for a franchise in the cellular realm. And I was just doing odds and ends, just little small jobs, providing for myself, my sisters, and my mother, who is no longer with us. And that just basically was my whole life. I was a gym addict. I've always been in sales. I was a manager in Houston, Texas, for a few different gyms, and then I transferred over to the cellular side. And then I've been with that company for like 6 years, and I'm technically still with them. They never fired me.
Oh,
So,
wow.
the
Why do
day
you
I
think
got out
that
of prison-
is?
Oh, I'm very good at what I do as far as helping them. And the day I got out of prison, they were like, "Okay, so you're coming back to work today? Because we're in the same spot." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm on my way to DC, but we're trying to figure that out at the moment."
Wow, that's awesome to hear. Now, you said you lost your mom. Did you lose her while you were in prison?
6 months before.
6
6
months.
months before.
I'm sorry.
It was a shocker. It's we were in. This is not related. I guess it is in a way. She's always had back issues, and we had gotten a no-fault auto accident the day we left the hospital with my newborn son. So my son came a month early. He was born the weekend my car was being delivered from Houston. I had do business with a guy in Houston, and I had a great deal. I'm like, okay, can you deliver it? They delivered it to the hospital. On the way home from the hospital, we 1 block away from the house, we get in a T-bone. Dude driving 200 feet onto oncoming traffic and T-bones us. So that sent us to the hospital. I lost consciousness. I had memory loss for about 12 hours. I kept remembering and forgetting I had a son. As soon as I would forget, I would remember again, and then it would come back full circle. And then my mom had a lot of back issues that the year before, she just was able to like walk around and move and stretch. But that accident completely undid all the progress she made. So I was unaware that she was taking painkillers, different varieties to help with the pain, and one was laced with fentanyl, and she overdosed from fentanyl.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So you
that
were
was
in the big middle of grieving when you ended up going into the prison.
Yeah, I didn't even really I still haven't got the chance to grieve because it's not the appropriate time, I believe. I want to have my family with me when I have that moment. And the reason why I say that, the pre-sentencing department didn't let me go visit the funeral. I was
you're
still
kidding.
confined. Yeah, they didn't let me leave. So they went that. I paid for the funeral. We got her cremated. I have a remnant of ashes. My little sisters have the bigger urn. I have a heart-shaped collector of the ashes. But I've been to, and I don't mean to say it. My mother knows how I am. She knows I love her with every ounce. I don't think right now, or since her death, it has been a time for me to grieve appropriately. Plus, with my sisters, I have to be strong for them. And then,
Well, it seems like you're still in the heat of battle from my perspective. I know a little bit of your story. You've helped American Patriot Relief out quite a bit recently, and we've grown a little bit closer through that. So that's why it was important for me to bring you on and let your story be heard. I don't think it's that you're denying your opportunity for grief as much as you're still in the heat of battle. Will you share with the viewers where you're at and why?
So after my release from prison, I was expected to go back to my home state. I don't want to say my home state because I've been doxxed and I get a lot of hate on the Give Same Go inbox, which is fine. But on a follower of the Sedition Hunters, they actually found out my wife's name.
Will you share who the Sedition Hunters are for the public?
They are evil. They are so evil, Sedition Hunters.
They're basically just a bunch of random no-face accounts, people who are willing to cause trouble without putting a face to what they believe in. So pretty much just cowards.
So to expound on it a little bit, these are actually FBI incited. In other words, they have called upon them. They're college students, and they actually get, I believe, college credit and bumps up in their status, potentially financial rewards for stalking, harassing, and doxing January 6th defendants. And they belittle them, tear them down. They expose their address, their phone numbers, so that they get personal attacks. It is incredulous. When we refer to the Holocaust, we actually called them brown shirts, if that gives you an idea of who they are for America today.
Yeah, that's new. The whole that they get credit from school
Yes.
about all this is new to me. I did not know that.
Yes. And so go on with your story. You were saying that they have doxed your wife.
Yeah, they were like, I feel unsafe with her being free, yada, yada, yada. She needs to be arrested as well. Now, mind you, I'm going to share with the viewers, I think I was the only January 6th protester there that was in attendance with somebody who was, at the time, an illegal immigrant. She's been here for a few years. It was her first rally. It was my first rally, and we were together for 2 months. At the time, girlfriend, now wife. I got the wedding band, so I just bought hers, and I'm trying to get visitation. But anyways, it's visitation to go see her, so I can go give it to her. But so we were together for 2 months at the time, and I was at work, and I remember sitting down. I'm all like, man, I think I need to go. I think I need to drive out there to Washington and make my voice heard. And whatever form that was. I didn't know exactly too much about protesting. I never really been a part of it. I've seen it, and I was like, well, I don't believe in burning down shop business owners and the whole somewhere love riots. I'm like, that's not what I believe in protesting is. So let me go be a part of this peaceful movement and try to help our voice be heard and make my presence known. Because I'm down all the rabbit holes of the sexual trafficking of kids, and I've been down all the rabbit holes. And some of them I believe in, some of them I believe in just for pure entertainment, just to annoy certain people. Like the whole flat earth. I like being a flat earther because it's just fun to troll people. But so I was like, yeah, you know what? I can't sit here and at least not participate in this. And I'll just be a hypocrite just to sit on my couch and when I have a chance to go. So we went. She watches Telemundo, the Spanish news network, and she's like, well, she goes, I kind of understand, I don't. And as we went through the parade, there was all the people with banners and stuff like that, and she came across a lot of the imagery of the anti-abortion banners, and she see how far up to late-term abortions that people were fighting to keep that right to murder children. And she goes, wow, I didn't know that was actually a thing. She goes, I just assumed that, Plan B or, first trimester. She goes, that's the kind of extent that I assumed it was. She goes, I didn't think it was the final trimester. You can still abort your child. And she goes, why is anybody against this? And I'm like, well, that's kind of what we're there. There's people that are against it, sadly. And she's all like, yeah, she goes, I didn't think that was an actual issue in America. She goes, I thought people had more common sense than that. Like, yeah, well, common sense ain't so common. So we had fun. We couldn't hear the speech. We were more on the back outskirts of we got there kind of late. And I didn't think it was going to be that many people. So I showed up around 8 o'clock that morning. We showed up in Virginia the night before, walked around, and showed up around 8 o'clock. And so next thing you know, we're making our way towards the Capitol. We see a crowd, and I don't know who was screaming about we're going to the Capitol. It was in the general vicinity of Ray Epps, based off of where I was at, the timing, but I can't say for sure if that was him saying that. But we said, oh, okay, well, I guess we're going to the Capitol now. So we make our way down, we find a restroom, stop, proceed. There was a few stands on the outside selling hot pretzels, coffee, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is perfect because this was extremely cold that day. Next thing you know, as we were getting in line, we start hearing the bangs go off from the concussion rounds. And I'm like, in my mind, automatically, I'm like, I knew they were going to do this. As in them keeping the perimeter pushed back where they were going to type of get an angle, like, well, there's not that many people here. I'm thinking that's the worst. It's just, they're making a perimeter. They don't want no one to come so close. They can get their angle and, not that many people showed up. So I was like, oh, no, I didn't drive all the way from Houston to not be told, or to be told I can't go somewhere where I'm able to, where I can walk wherever I want to. So as we get closer, I realize, stuff's going down. Like, this is crazy. And I was like, okay, so I pull out my camera, and I'm recording. I'm not in the ride at the moment. I'm just recording. I'm on I believe the west side. So as I'm recording, I'm on the next to the stairs. I got the handrails. It's about 1.5 feet in width. So I'm standing on that underneath the scaffolding to the left. And what got me to participate was, and people were sharing it on Telegram. I can't remember the viewer or the follower, but they shared the video where there was an officer on the scaffolding. So I was there for about 10 to 15 minutes recording. No one else is being shot. And the reason why I say that is that there were some scuffles going on between people who were not dressed like Trump supporters. These people just came out of nowhere with helmets and I don't want to say military guard, more like airsoft guard. They have the vest and the helmet and all that stuff. And I was like, oh man, these people came ready. That's crazy. That's funny. And I'm just like, oh, do what you do. I'm not gonna stop you. I'm just recording, guys. And then next thing you know, I get shot by the grace of God. I believe it was the beanbag rounds. So I'm on the scaffolding, holding one hand, recording with the other hand. And the moment that she shoots me, I slip, and you could feel 3 tugs. And someone shared the video that she shot me, or shot at me, and then didn't shoot nobody else. I'm all like, she just and then I noticed the angle. I was like, oh, she was trying to get a headshot. That was no center shot. She was aiming for the head. I was like, wow, that chick's crazy. And then I still stayed there, and she didn't. These were at the time when people were fighting cops, spraying cops, macing cops, cops fighting back, pushing, shoving, got all that. I'm like, why didn't she shoot none of them? Like, why just the guy recording not in the right? So that aggravated me. And I was like, all right, well, now I'm in. So it is what it is. My official plan was to like kind of be with it, but not be too involved, but like to make an official report at the end of it once everything's set down, be like, hey, you know, what the heck, what, you know, can I get that officer's information because she shot me without warning, without any reasoning. There was a lot of stuff going on. I remember the guy that I think I forgot the gentleman's name. The dude who had the heart attack. He was the first victim.
That would be Benjamin Phillips or Kevin Greason.
God rest their soul, but one of them, or both of them actually, rest both their souls, but it was one of them that was actually shot right behind me. Not in my immediate, but it was not that far, like maybe 20 yards behind me to the left. And I remember them calling for help, calling for medics, and no one came. And the protesters actually carried them out to the street. And I was like, I mean, I'm not no expert, but I'm assuming that there should be a protocol if somebody's dying in the crowd, if they're seeking medical attention. So there was a bunch of stuff going on. Like, it was just a colossal, just nonstop action going on.
Chaotic. It sounds really chaotic.
Yeah, it was hard to, it wasn't hard to comprehend. I wasn't living in the moment. I was like, oh man, this is 1776 all over again. This is wild. I love it. And most people frown upon that. People are, oh, well, non-violent. Yeah, whatever. But at the end of the day, we have a right to overthrow a tyrannical government as the people deem fit. Now, is that in black and white? Yes. How to do it is not so black and white.
That's right.
So
People
I get
need to know that, though. Let me expound on that. I say that all the time, that is why none of us were charged with insurrection. Because in order to charge us with an insurrection, that means that they would have to prove that they are a valid standing elected government. Mm-hmm. And we all know they could not prove that, and they sure did not want all these defendants digging and researching to prove all the ways in which the election was stolen. 2,000 Mules, the movie 2,000 Mules alone would have shown enough evidence to disprove the validity of his placement as president.
Yeah, and I love the 2,000 Mules documentary because it brought light. Okay, let's say it's not concrete evidence. Oh, the election was stolen, but it's hard to understand that people that watch it and they're like, nah, it's like, like no, like you could literally watch the documentary and not have a glimmer of understanding that maybe that there's a lot of irregularities that need to be investigated. Okay, 2020, whatever. 2020 is out the door. Okay, I get it. But there's still issues as far as a first world country that we need to solve. That's and right. You guys can literally watch that and be like, it's a tiny fraction of people or a tiny fraction of issues that we have that overall, it's like, it doesn't matter.
But they stole it 1,000 little ways because then, I mean, that's just the mules that they proved, which, by the way, if you think that it was made up, look into what happened to the people that made that movie because the government come after them and to silence them. But they stole it 1,000 little ways. Here in Houston right now, there's a gigantic ordeal going on where somebody just got found guilty and imprisoned for the massive amount of election fraud. You've got it in Arizona. You got it in Michigan. You got it all over the place. Look at what happened to Kerry Lake in Arizona. I mean, they stole it 1,000 different ways, not one.
I believe that lady that was arrested in Houston was based off of the investigation from James O'Keefe. I think that was a domino effect of his investigation.
And that's a great point because James O'Keefe right now, and we're hoping to get some involvement in it, is he's exposing Act Blue. They were used to funnel money and put $500 or $1,500 increments through elderly people's names in a mass amount. I mean, some of them 25 different donations.
Well,
and then you go to that elderly person and they're like, I've never donated to Act Blue. They're literally funneling George Soros money through Act Blue.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the people that did the heavy lifting on this, and that's Peter Berninger and Jonathan Cagle and the researchers that actually found this, because this has been going on for quite a while. And if you go to the source, like Peter Berninger was the one that broke that. And they've been trying to get, just like you guys, they've been trying to get traction out there, and nobody will listen to them. And then quite honestly, then sooner or later somebody jumps on to help them out and such. But if you look at Peter Berninger, he's got a ton of information on smurfing.
I would love if you would link that so that I can look into that, because we definitely, that's so important to put them in the hot seat on that before this election.
I interviewed Peter on this. I don't remember how long ago it was, but he's been on this it's been probably February. And so he was been really jumping on this for quite a while, but I'd be more than happy to link people together to get this word out there, because I think that this is part of the decentralization of all of our news cycles, that we have to work together, and that the more places that cover this information, the better off we are. Instead of having gatekeepers, it's got to be out there, so that it's not just the big players. So like, one of the things that I'm always curious about, when you see people even on the right side that have large followings, my first question is how did they get through the net to silence them? Because the rest of us have been silent. So when I see people that are in there that have large followings, I'm really cautious about their message. Even though it looks good on the outside, I'm always cautious about that. People like Peter and some of the others that, like you guys and such, those are the ones that I typically like to listen to, because they're not just the, it's like the eggs or the pig, the chicken or the pig. Chickens are involved when it comes to the egg, but pigs are committed. And so I go for them.
That's a really good point. I never thought about that. I'm going to have to take those thoughts captive too.
Yeah. So when I see people that are making a lot of money or highly funded, and I look at their funding sources like that, I'm always a little bit, let's listen to it, but not hook, line, and sinker. Let's get behind to see who did the heavy work. We had the same thing in Michigan here. There were people in the MIGOP that jumped on a whole bunch of information with GBI strategies and that sort of thing. Well, the person that did the investigation on that was Chris Kyla, and they forgot to mention his name, and he's the one that actually did the work.
Wow.
So I'm always a little cautious of that, just so you know, and I like to give the people such as yourself the real shout out on, the people that were involved. I'm going to throw up your Give, Send, Go here a minute that you put in the chat. Hang on.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we want to be there to help everyone, and truly, there. So there's Joshua's Give, Send, Go account and such. So I think this is an important place to go and get involved and help people out that really did nothing wrong. And I mean, if they attack one of us, they attack us all, and we need to be standing together.
And I reiterate to people all the time, it doesn't matter, in my opinion, what they did that day, because once their civil rights were violated, it's a game changer. And when you get set up and framed, and then you want to arrest people for responding with human instinct, men were created by God to be protectors and providers. When they're seeing women get attacked, when they're seeing other people get attacked, when they're being attacked, you have a human instinct to fight or flight. Well, there wasn't no flighting, because Josh will tell you, there was nowhere to go back. There was nowhere to back up. You had to go forward.
So
and it's crazy.
Trapped.
It's crazy because there's no in between. It's okay. I humble myself. I in order to break with the common man when I have discussions, I always say I'm 1 point above having Down syndrome, because if I can understand it from my viewpoint, it's hard for me to justify how they can't understand it. And I tell them, okay, So you mean to tell me that it's protocol for Capitol Police officers to see an incident 5, 10, 15 feet in front of them, for them to follow protocol, shooting 500 yards deep into the crowd with gas canisters and concussion grenades? That makes a lot of sense, right? They're like, oh, that didn't happen. I'm like, well, here's the video. Like, you
It
tell
happened
me
repeatedly, not
Yeah.
once or twice, not 2 or 3, 4 or 5. It was repeated.
And so it's like, and I tell the people, like I have conversations with here in DC, I make it everybody's issue now. I'm always in Trump gear. You know, y'all put me here, so I'm gonna, you know, I like to troll in real life, and it happens a lot. I'll get random dudes. Oh, you really wearing that, bro? Yup. But anyway, so when we have a conversation, I'll tell them, I was like, okay, so it's 100% the protesters' fault, right? Not to mention the fact that we gave Trump gave permission for the National Guard. Nancy Pelosi denied it. Not for the fact that, you know, Stephen Shun or
Son, yeah.
Son.
Capitol Police Chief.
He came out with a book saying for 91 minutes or 92 minutes, Nancy Pelosi didn't respond in order to have some chain of structure of what to do. That's not an issue. The fact that the Capitol Police officers were not well equipped. They couldn't find the riot shields. So apparently they moved it 2 days before from where it originally was to no one knew where it was at. Okay, that's not the issue. 100%, all the protesters' fault. It's on their fault. Anybody asks you a question, you're a terrorist, you're a Nazi, you're with the, you know, you're following the new term they like to use now, the weird party. It's 100%, and don't question it, because if you question it, then you're a threat to democracy. It's like, how can you guys not put at least to understand, maybe this event happened because there was multiple failures on different aspects of the chain of command of different arenas of how this event should have been, or this protest should have been handled. No, the news is it's 100% the people's fault. They're insurrectionists. They're a threat to the republic or democracy, like they put it. And it's just baffled me that now it does shock me when I tell them some of these things, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that." They're like, It'll get them to ponder. But there's still a lot of brainwash, and I hate to use that term because I don't like to put labels on people. But there's still a lot of lack of self-research.
That's right. You know, I want to point out 2 of them. Most people don't know that there were 6 permits pulled that day. In other words, the people had a right, an approved permit to be out there to protest.
Thanks to Alex Alexander.
They withdrew them permits at 11 p.m. on January 5th without telling anybody. I
never heard that before.
That's right. And
Wow.
I have those permits in my phone that I can send to you. And what people also don't realize is there were rotating speakers due at the Capitol that day. People so often go, well, why would you go to the Capitol if you didn't intend harm? Well, they were due to have speakers. That's why Simone Gold got caught up in it. She was there as a speaker, and she's like, where's the platform? Where's the microphone set up? Where's the crew? So when the doors were open, she thought, oh, go in. And then she realized, okay, I don't know what's going on. Used a bullhorn and gave her speech. There were due to be speakers there. So sorry about interrupting. Go back to it. Hey.
No, that's good to know. I mean, that's good to know, because I don't think that I ever heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's Ali Alexander. He was one of the, I think, not the only person, but I remember him saying that he had multiple permits out specifically for the American people that.
And Women for Trump, I believe, had one out there. Yeah.
So it was just
who pulled those permits?
I'm sorry?
Was there an answer on who? Is there a person who is responsible for pulling those permits, or a department?
I can't remember all the details behind who pulled them, but they claimed that number one, there were divisive parties there because Antifa were due to be out there in permitted areas too, side by side with Trump supporters, and they claimed that they were worried about, the interaction getting violent. But then they tell the public, oh, we weren't worried about violence at all. Every MAGA march had been peaceful, which is somewhat true, but that's why we had the Proud Boys in the first place, is because we were being attacked. So anyway, that was one of the excuses, along with, well, when they pulled their permit, it wasn't for that many people. Well, yeah, who knew 2 million people were going to show up out there?
Well, how did they know that the day before at 11 o'clock that night?
Yeah.
There's a, it's like, unless they're like seriously spying on this whole
What
thing.
they were doing that geo tracking on all of our phones. So not to mention the airlines were bogged down with J6ers, which is now J6ers. They were protesters. I know that simply because the airplane I went to get on, the whole plane was protesters. Everybody absolutely covered in Trump gear, and we weren't affiliated with each other. You walk in the little holding area at the airport to board the plane at the gate, and it's like a field of red, white, and blue. It was like, oh my goodness. In Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland, their airport was full of, even when we come in, full of people in red, white, and blue heading to the march. So, they knew. Oh, they knew. Anything they say less is lying.
Yeah, wow. It was. I'm very proud of the American people that day, not for the violence. Some part of me is, but more importantly, the amount of people that showed up was astonishing to me. It was a wave of, like, a sea of supporters that day, and I was like, wow, this is very nice to see that I am not crazy. In a way, it was more of a confirmation, because like everybody I work with, everybody I know is, oh, you're crazy for liking Trump, or like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, there's no such thing as these days. Trump's talking about is behind. And I'm like,
yeah, they had been gaslighting us for a long time, and then you got there and you realized, oh, their game is not working. And honestly, up until then, I really wasn't totally sure of a stolen election. All I was asking is, hey guys, investigate this. But the fact they covered it up and then January 6th happened, because what happened that day was totally different than what you saw in the news 2 hours later. And it's like, oh, this is planned and it's a cover-up. So they told on themselves by how they responded.
Yeah. So I remember the moment it hit me like a freight truck, when I was like, oh, this is set. After the whole, so I was number 14 in the building, apparently, from what Christopher Cooper, my judge, told me. He goes, you're number 14 in the building. You weren't just a follower. That's too far up in advance to just be like you were going with the crowd. You were leading the crowd. I'm like, oh, thank you, appreciate that. I want to humble myself down. I didn't think myself.
Yeah, you're not a follower.
So he while I was there the day of the event, I remember where that dude was hanging down and he dropped. I was up there recording a little bit of that. Now that footage is not mine. Many people caught that on film, but at that moment I caught that. And then we're just talking, high-fiving, like, oh man, giving hugs. I'm like, this is awesome. So we leave. I'm coming back out. I'm on the upstairs lobby. And then to my left, I see all the reporters, cameras, crew, looking down the hallway. There's one officer in front of the cameras with protesters proceeding through the crowd or coming through the hallway as well. And he's got the baton, he's hitting the floor. He's like, back up, back. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And then to right behind the cameras on the other side of the wall, there's, I believe, I want to say 4, but for sure 3 officers that were against the window with 3 protesters laughing and pointing. And I'm like, I'm looking and I'm like, why are you not, that's weird. Why are you guys just pointing and laughing at your fellow officer struggling in front of the cameras? That's when the hamster wheel started turning. And then in sales, we kind of, understand body behavior when we're losing a customer, or, how to get people to interact and convince them. So body language is a little bit I'm not an expert in, but I kind of understand body language and I pick things up. So while I'm watching that, as the hamster wheels are turning, there was a statue on some stand. This is what kind of really brought it in. I'm paying attention. Nobody's turning. Other camera guys are not turning around. They're not looking back. They're all walking back. Nobody's bumping elbows. They're not hitting each other. The dude closest to the wall, as he's walking back, he pivots to the left, and then he goes back to avoid that thing standing behind him. And I was like, how did you know that was there? Like, how did you know that? Because I just looked at you. I've been seeing you. Y'all been keeping y'all's eyes ahead. How did you know that object was behind you? Now, maybe he's been there before. Okay. But, I'm not a fan of too many coincidences. So I was like, oh, this is a setup. This is not. When you add it to the fact that these officers here are just pointing and laughing with all these protesters at the dude, the officers are struggling. But behind the cameras, where the cameras aren't seeing, and you have one guy trying to fight off all these protesters coming down the hallway for a cinematic view. I was like, oh yeah, no, this is not what it is. They're gonna make this look completely different. I can already tell. I got to get out of here. Jumped out the window, found my wife, and we left. Next thing you know, I have everybody calling me on my family. The day I got disowned, because all my people are from Mexico. They're all calling me because they're watching the Spanish news, and they're like, "We saw you on Telemundo. The FBI is looking for you." I'm like, "Ain't no way." And they sent me a screenshot. I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, they know where I'm at. And it took them a year. I was being investigated for 8 months. They just saw me going to work, coming back home, going to work, flipping cars, working on my cars in the yard.
Aren't you glad your job wasn't that worthless? I think of them surveilling me too. I'm like, that had to be the most boring surveillance job on earth. Follow me to church, follow me home, follow me to work, follow me home, follow me to Walmart, follow me home.
It was crazy, and I knew they were following me. They were pretty bad at their job. They would pretend to be customers, but they'll walk in a certain motion, like in formation behind one another, and one's to the side looking around, and one dude trying to talk to me and keeping eye contact. I'm all like, what are you looking for? No, I don't have that. Okay. All right. Sounds good, boss. Okay, so yeah, sure, I'll be here tomorrow. And they just
come back and see me now, you hear?
I was like, you guys suck. But
when they shot you, when you got shot in the shoulder, it's amazing that if you were on the scaffolding, did you lose your grip or anything like that? Or
well, I had lost my grip the moment it would have made contact. So I had lost my grip before it hit me, because if I did not move from the position I was in, it would have been straight to the dome. But because I had moved a little bit, it shot and touched it flickered my shirt. I felt it, just the rapid fire or a 3-round burst.
I tell you what, God was with you. And I think this is the thing that is the most evident to me with every single one of these issues, is how God's hand was upon you during this whole thing. And it's just incredible. And your testimony is so important for people to hear, in the fact that the thing got me right off the bat is, this is a sham. Is how do you get past 20,000 pound magnetically closed doors? You do not, unless somebody opens them up. And I mean, the whole thing is like watching a very cartoon-esque setup by cowardly thugs who are trying to deprive President Trump, the seated president at the time, of his rightful office, the rightful president of the United States. And when you stack all of this thing together, it's just like watching the stolen elections. You cannot, if you look at the evidence, you cannot come away with anything other than this was a Fedsurrection. And why is it? So I've got some questions with listening to this, and over the past few days that have continued to formulate. It looks to me from the outside that there was bad thugs, super soldiers there that were actually attacking good cops. It almost looks like there was a war, a law enforcement war was going on right there, and provoked good people to stand up for the cops that were being hurt. I mean, that's what it sounds like. And it sounds like, I don't know who these people were that were playing law enforcement, that were playing crowd control, but it sure sounds like there was a division within law enforcement.
Well, you know what it was is you had the FBI working. FBI, I believe CIA was involved. I believe the DHS was involved. I think they were all out there as fed plants to
Capitol Police was
instigate on the
involved.
front line. And in my personal body cam footage, I actually have one footage where an instigator, I didn't know at the time, I thought he was a great guy. It wasn't until really now that I've really double thought maybe he wasn't a good guy after all. But he actually flashed a badge to him when they swung a baton at him. Like once they were treating him like a protester, he's like, no, back off. Here's my badge, you know.
If I do whatever I want,
badge. Do what?
Wow.
If I do whatever I want, badge.
Right. Exactly.
I'm above the law badge. That's what it is. You know, I'm sorry, but that's not okay.
Right.
And I remember when we broke through the police line, the final line. I remember saying a prayer in my head. I've always been a follower of Christ, not as much as I want to be. Of course, we all go through our struggles and battles, but I remember saying a prayer as I'm going up the stairs, as we're rushing through, and I'm like, God, if I'm in the wrong, please let me know. But I know that you made this nation, and I know that you gave us unalienable rights, and I know that there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. I told him the reason why I'm doing this is because I feel like you made this country off of Christian belief, and I believe that this is our right to do this, and mainly for the kids. The whole Pizzagate, the whole Frysel drip, the whole missing kids. We're a first world country, and we have 1 million kids year after year that go missing at the border, and no one ever finds them. And I'm like, this is bigger than just, in my mind. Yeah, the presidency is one of the key issues, but there's a lot of things that are going on, and I feel like I'm fighting a new generational warfare, and this is our moment to stand. And if I'm wrong, Lord, show me, some time. But if I'm wrong, forgive me. But I'm convinced that you put me here in this situation, and I'm not going down without a fight. If this is true, forgive me to that all the times that I have not fought for what's right. But I'm doing this, and please help me, protect me. If something were to happen, it would suck. But I remember having that prayer at first, as we were going up the steps once we broke the police line. So like when the people say that we're just crazy people, we're not. And it's not that it bothers me. It's just that I wish that people would understand that we come from a humble state of just wanting to fix issues that I don't think America needs or should have, like missing kids, all these underhand deals.
That's something to really point out, because, by not standing up for what is happening in this child trafficking, losing 80 million kids, like, for not standing up for that, you're now complacent in it, which helps the cover up. And the scripture tells us in Mathew, it is better for a millstone to be wrapped around your neck and thrown to the bottom of the sea than hurt one of these little ones. So as Christians, we're called to step up. So it is not okay to, I'll pray about it. No, you better be doing more than that. So I think you
turn tables over when it comes to what's happening to these children. And, I think that the nonsense that's going on with the cartels and all of this stuff, this is truly a battle between good and evil. And we're dealing with a huge global crime syndicate that will use anyone it can as its prey to recruit and use, and that's against just everyday Americans and against good people that are God's people. I mean, that's really what's happening here.
And it's not even across the sea. It's happening right next
It's
door.
on our shores. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the cartels right now are bragging about what they do. So they post on X their most horrific crimes to send a message to everyone. Nobody has an excuse anymore that says, well, I didn't know. Yeah, you did know. There's enough of us out there that are talking about this and putting it out there. You do know. And we have to step up and help. But, even in our communities, or when we see other everyday Americans that are just working their jobs, and really they have the right to have their voices heard and not go and be attacked and provoked by some super soldier cowardly pukes that set out to incite a riot. They are the criminals that incited this riot and let people in. I mean, it looks, anyone with a lick of common sense can sit there and say this was a federal setup, just like Oklahoma was, just like the World Trade Centers were, just like all of these other things, the open borders, the lists are just so long anymore. You can't even get to the end of it. I don't know if you guys saw the doctors this week, but the doctors that they dropped out of the sky over there that go on the way to Brazil, they were bringing cancer cures forward, and they had to silence them. And I've got some real big questions, but anybody that has anything that needs to be heard, they're being silenced in one way or another. And if they can't silence you one way, they're going to Arkansas you. And it's been going on for a long time.
That's right. And, just to throw back on this child trafficking thing, I'm in Texas, so there's pieces of information your viewers may not know about, and I don't want to change the subject off in it, but do they know that there are 2,100 brothels in Texas alone for children? For children. And that can be verified. There is also several of our border cities that have been taken over and ran by the cartels. Mm-hmm. And see, that America don't want you to know that. But this is a big deal.
The cartels, they control all the tourists. They own all the tourist locations in Mexico. Like they have embedded. They basically run everything that comes in and out of Mexico. From even they have branches that now are infecting the U.S. And
there's been every state, and when you look at the number of people that have sworn into and have jumped into Santa Muerte, and there's a saint of murder, the crimes that these people commit against humanity, it needs to be called out. When they slice people's faces off and they dismember them and they do all these horrific things that are torture, they'll pull a beating heart out of a person and hold it until it stops beating. I've seen that.
But what we need is 81,000 new IRS agents. Let's not mind all that. More importantly, we need IRS because you sent $600 to Cash App. What's that about?
It's about silencing Americans. Keep them busy fighting for their life to where they can't stand up for one another. We can't unify. That's what that's about.
That is sure distraction and division.
And Ace, I want to ask you one more question, and you may not want to answer it. It's a story I know about that I find just horrific. Do you want to share what happened to you in prison?
Oh, yeah, I would love to. So this is like a big middle finger to anybody who made this to say, oh, this is going to be his downfall. We're going to do this to him, and he's going to cry in his cell. It was the exact opposite. So while I was sentenced, my first day in prison, of course they do this to a lot of people, but they'll what they call test you to see what they can get away with on the first day. So the first day they try to fight me, but didn't even make it to my bunk. Didn't even make it to my dorm. I was how do I say? I was like maybe 10 feet from the door where you're processed in. Once you do that door, you're in prison, but you're on the yard. You go through the sidewalk and go to your dorm. Anyways, he goes, hey, because they asked me, are you in a gang? I was like, no, I'm not in a gang. well, this is from the inmate, which come to find out he was a head guy working with the Mexican cart. And he goes, you in a gang, you whatever. Like, nah, I don't do that, bro. He goes, okay, well then you're gonna join the Mexicans. I was like, nah, I don't like you guys too much. I'm an American. He goes, and he took that as disrespectful. And I was like, well, let me take it how you want, bro. Like, I don't care. He goes, well, we're gonna have an issue. So I had all my stuff, my blanket, clothes. So I put it down and I kind of lift my pants up. And I was like, okay, so what's up? We got an issue right now. He goes, no, that's not what I meant. I'm saying, like, other people are going to have an issue with that. So, just tell them you're good. They tell them to come talk to me. And I was like, you sure, bro? Because you kind of had a different vibe at first. He goes, no, it ain't nothing like that. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Proceeded on. They had another time where the same people tried to do that, but nothing happened. After a while, I kind of gained, I didn't join a race car or a gang. I was what they considered an independent. So when you're an independent, you don't have the same privileges as card members or gang members do. You can't work
You're
out.
unprotected in the prison.
Correct. You can't work out. You got to pay more for things. You can't run a store. You can't run businesses, stuff like that. But I was doing enough things for people. I was friendly enough. I would be translator. I would help people out with paperwork, chit chat. I would multicultural person. I like chilling with different people. So after a while, they were like, "Hey, you're upbeat. You kind of, you stand on your principle. You stand for you, and you're not. There's a lot of people who they make it through their way independent, but they're they'll stay to themselves. They won't talk to nobody. You're talk to whoever. You'll go play spades. You'll go play dominoes. You'll be on the court. It's a little different. So I kind of got the respect from a few of some people didn't like me, but some of them people that mattered, I kind of got friends with them. I kind of understand structure. So I went and made friends with them. I was able to intervene on some issues. That hey, look, let's work this out. Because sometimes it was an English barrier, so I would be the intermediate. So they respected me a little bit to where they let me run my cell phone operation. Obviously, we can't have cell phones in prison. I had a few of them, so in order to make money, I would rent them out. Stuff like that to make money. Well, that happened for about 4 months. Everything was good. Some people didn't pay up, some people did. I couldn't really do nothing about the people that did. I didn't have no back. I just had to take the loss, and that was that. Well, some dudes got transferred in from a higher security down to where I was at. So once they found out that I wasn't in a gang or a card, they assumed correctly, I guess, that they could just take the phones from me. And I was like, well, if I let them take the phones, then they might start taking my commissary, and they might start taking. I had 3 mattresses in my one mattress. I went and paid extra and made my stay comfortable at Fed Inn. So I was like, well, I'm gonna have to stand up this time. Like, I'm gonna have to really fight because these guys, they'll take the phone, but it might stop there. If I let them take it, then they might proceed. So I'm thinking it's gonna be a one-on-one fight. We hit the back wall. I get 2 swings in, and this dude's a 1.5 feet taller than me. He's skinny, not big, but skinnier, taller. Next thing you know, I get hit in the back with a lock tied to a belt. That's a weapon. That's what they use. It's either shanks, or if they don't want to kill you, they just want to mess you up. They'll use locker locks tied to belts. So next thing you know, I got like 4 or 5 people beating me with locks tied to belts. I'm getting stomped out. I'm on the floor already, about to lose consciousness, and they're still going at it. I get up, and I'm all messed up. Get up, and I go smoke a cigarette in the restroom. The Mexican card had an issue with that because they really liked me. I almost started a race war, but guards came, and they took me to the hole because I couldn't hide it. I was like, I fell off the bed. They're like, okay, well, we're going to do an investigation. And I wanted to go back to the yard because in solitary confinement, you don't have a store. You only get to buy bar soap, bag of Cheetos, a bag of cookies, and a Snickers. That's your store. That's it. You're behind 4 walls 24/7, no TV, your shower, your toilet, your bed, your function 24/7, 7 days a week. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. You get one phone call a month, 15 minutes, that's it. So like, oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna stay in the shoot. And I already knew the rules. Like I'm like, no, I'm gonna get out. So I told them like, oh yeah, I fell off the bed. They're like, that's what happened. I was like, yeah. And after the investigation is done, they have 30 days. My 30 days is up, and I'm like, okay, cool. When am I gonna leave? They're like, oh, we'll get back with you. Like, all right. And I waited. Another 30 days go by. No one comes sees me. Nothing. Nobody. Finally, I see him on accident because he comes to see somebody else. And I was like, hey man, what's up? I thought you said that that I'm good to go. I don't have a verified threat. No one wants to hurt me because they'll do their investigation. And they're like, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, boss. The powers that be don't want you to get out. They want you in here till you leave. And I'm like, how? Why? He goes, I don't know what to tell you, bro. The powers that be, that's all I can say. Long story short, without going into detail, you're going to be here till you're released. So I did my last 6 months of solitary confinement without my due process of fighting. I didn't get what they call DHO, a court hearing, to justify me going back to the yard. There's a due process. We have a thing called BPH system where you file multiple complaint forms. None of them were being sent. It took them another month just to get the first form. They said they never got it. I'm like, how? I'm behind the door. An officer came and got it. How did y'all not get it? He goes, well, you got to give it to this person. I'm like, this person never comes. He goes, well, you got to put in a request. I'm like, I have. The reason why I got this BPA form is because someone who left the unit or someone who left the shoot had an extra one. I've already put forms. He goes, well, I'm just a guard, bro. I don't know what to tell you. So there was a lot of finger pointing, but basically I left. I stayed my last 6 months in solitary. 184 days I did in solitary confinement. And then I thought that was it. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm out the prison system. I'm good. Next thing you know, so upon my release, you're supposed to have certain checkpoints. You have your itinerary meeting where they tell you your itinerary report, your plan, your release plan, resources, and your probation officer's information. I didn't get none of them. I waited the last week, the last 2 weeks. I kept, hey, when are they coming? When are they coming? Am I being released? Am I not being released? It's like a bad sign. What's going on? And like, is there something going on? I go, have another indictment come in? He goes, no, you're being released. I'm like, so why has no one came see me? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, oh, great, of course, I should have known. I don't know why I'm even asking you. So finally, I get released. I'm being my fingerprint going, and they hand me a bus ticket. It says DC. I'm like, why am I going to DC? I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm free. I'll figure it out. Managed to get my hands on the cell phone. So I didn't get no itinerary report. Didn't get my probation officer's information. I didn't get nothing but the bus ticket, which is not supposed to be like that. But they're supposed to give you all that information on who to go see, everything. Call the probation office like, hey, I don't know why I'm going to DC, but I'm going. I'll be there Saturday. Can you give me some information on what to do? Pulls me up in the system. He's all like, why are you coming to DC? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, well, we don't have you supposed to be here. He goes, let me see. He goes, okay. He goes, I found you, but your supervision officer hasn't been with us for 3 years. He's been gone.
What?
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, so how is he still in the system? I'm like, how did that happen? How do I get assigned to somebody who has been gone for 3 years? Like, that doesn't make sense. He goes, yeah, well, I don't know. He goes, best thing I can do is figure it out Monday. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be homeless when I show up in DC. I don't have an ID because the BOP lost it, and they lost my social security card. So I can't get a hotel because I don't have an ID. So what am I supposed to do? He goes, well, you're going to have to rough it out till Monday.
Oh my gosh.
So Monday comes, they're like, well, we're kind of busy today. I'll reschedule you for tomorrow, and I'll have somebody for you. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still homeless, right? He goes, yeah, there's a few homeless shelters. Try to, they'll I'm like, okay, I guess, whatever. But shout out to the Ashley Babbitt, Mickey, and all them. If it wasn't for them, I would be homeless. They open their arms and their home to me. They put clothes on my back, food in my belly. Sherry, the visual, that do the nightly visual where they protest and speak for the J6ers to
At Freedom Corner.
At Freedom Corner. If it wasn't for the warriors that we have out here fighting for us, I would literally not have a place to go. I wouldn't have food in my belly, or home cooked food in my belly. So they really came through. They helped me way more than the government system has. That apparently they have resources for. They didn't do nothing for.
I want the viewers to know that has happened more than once. It is if they claim a homeless status, which often they lose their spouse, their family, or their home while they're in prison. They just ship them to DC. So first they tell them in pretrial you're not allowed to come into DC. And then afterward, they tell them you can't leave D.C. And D.C. is 97% Democratic. So they can't get jobs. They can't get a home. They can't stay anywhere. It's not safe for them in a homeless shelter because they'll be attacked. This is volatile. And they're literally leaving them homeless and then punishing them for being homeless because in order to be on probation, you have to have a home address.
And not that validate your terms of release.
To put you right back in prison.
How many people are in DC right now in that situation? 4 people?
Now I don't know them because they're felons and I don't supposed to have contact with them. But from Twitter, there's 4.
That's what they also do. They put in the in your probation that you're not allowed to communicate with other felons, and you're not allowed to stay with anybody that's had a felony or have any involvement with other J6ers.
Correct. You know what I'd really like to see? I would really like to see every single one of you who is a J6er compile a list of names of the people that you have had contact with through this whole process. In the prison system, whether they're a legislature, whether they're parole officers, whoever touched you in that situation, there should be a complete list of that because they're all guilty of criminal conspiracy.
Yeah, and then so like me being sentenced to prison, there was
the judges, the prosecutors. I mean, I'm gonna keep going, but go ahead. Sorry.
So there was 2 issues that arose. So they have a procedure. There are certain things that you get punishment-wise that you can only get when you're incarcerated, right? Once you're under the BOP's actual incarceration in prison, if you get in trouble, there are certain elements that you get assigned to you that are called variables and management variables and security level risks, right? So apparently I walked in, I was supposed to be at a camp. I was supposed to be at a daycare. They elevated me to a higher security custody with a thing called a management variable that you only get if you're causing issue of certain crimes within the BOP system. Never have I got a write-up. So I was like, I spoke with my case manager. I'm like, how do I have this if I haven't been in trouble yet? He goes, because I don't know. He goes, I've never seen someone walk in with a management variable because usually we issue that. Case managers have that. He goes, that's something within the system. I'm like, well, can you see that? He goes, no, I can't see that. I'm like, oh, so only you have access to hand out these management variables. You can't see who gave it to you? I'm like, interesting. So that's what put me at a higher custody. Instead of being at the camp, they put me in a low. And then 2, there's a thing called the First Step Act, thanks to Trump, where if you participate in certain programs, they give you 15 days off a month. And if you don't do those things, they put you in a negative status. You don't get 15 days credit. So what happened was, apparently, in order to sign up for a class, you got to go through your first team meeting with your case manager. They find out who you are, what you need. You do the psychology test and all that. That takes about a month. Easy. You can't sign up for any classes yet. You can't. It doesn't work. But apparently, a week before I self-surrendered to prison, I had signed up for a class and missed it because I wasn't even in prison yet. And my first 3 months of federal prison, I was in negative status to where I couldn't accumulate good time credit. So for the first 3 months, I would have been out 45 days earlier if it wasn't for that. So I had fought for that. I had pleaded for that. 3 caseworkers knew about the situation. They're like, good luck fighting that. I'm like,
Do you have the names of those caseworkers? Are you documenting this?
Yeah, I have their information.
I would like to see a list of every single one of these people, from the caseworkers to the people in the prison system to the people that were the sentencing you. I'd like to see the list of every single one of these people's names.
I went on a hunger strike.
Because what's that?
Go ahead. While I was in solitary confinement, I went on hunger strike, and the warden came, and he's all like, he goes, okay, you want to do a hunger strike? He goes, what's your reasoning? And I told him the exact same thing I just said. He goes, that's impossible. He goes, you're making that up. I'm all like, funny you say that. And I grabbed my report, my team, and it has all that listed. It has the dates and everything. And I showed it to him, and he's looking at it. He goes, another caseworker, he goes, do you know about this? She's all like, she goes, no, I didn't know about it. We've heard about it. He's brought this up, but I'm like, no.
Plausible deniability.
I was like, that's a lie, because I showed this to her before I was in solitary confinement. She knows about this. For her to say she didn't know the lie, he goes, hold on. And he goes, well, you get out in 2 weeks. Does it really matter? I was like, yeah, it matters, bro. I was like, I'm in solitary confinement. I should be out at the time. I should have been out 40-ish days earlier. I'm like, so I'm here doing extra time because y'all had an error in the system that y'all said is impossible to happen, that there's no way that anybody can be registered for class, but yet I have proof that it's happening. You guys are saying that this is wrong, that there's no way this can happen, but yet, it doesn't matter. You got 2 weeks to go. So.
And let's point out your solitary confinement too, because solitary confinement, you're not allowed to be in there for longer than a couple of days. I can't remember the constitutional amendment on that, but there's actually a constitutional amendment on this. Otherwise, it is considered torture. It's mental warfare. And yet J6ers, there's stories of them being in there hundreds of days on a 23-1 of being in there 23 hours, out for 1 hour, long enough to shower and go back.
At our prison, or when I was solitary confinement, I would have had better luck killing somebody. We had a dude who stabbed this guy up. It was an issue going on. Stabbed him up. He did a week in solitary confinement. We had another guy who was selling fentanyl in the system, killed somebody. They proved that it was him that sold it to him and killed him, plus the guy who loaned the guy the money to buy it. Both of them got out in 2 weeks. But me, no threat. I was a victim. If anything, I should have been moved to a different custody location.
I can't wait until every single one of these people's names hits a list for justice. And you know, it's going to happen, because you can't break the law. They're breaking the law. They're thugs. They're cowardly thugs. Trying to make people afraid.
They don't have no accountable. I believe they're a union. I could be wrong.
Oh, you're the union. So that gives them an excuse and protection because they're union, right? No.
Well, we know what the UAW does now, don't we?
Well, I'm going to tell you what. You know, the union that we all belong to is the union at this moment of one when it comes to accountability. I don't care what you think you're a part of for protection to save your ass, or what you think you're going to hide from anybody, because God Almighty is the one that you're going to stand in front of and take accountability to what you do in your individual actions. I don't care if it's for a job. I don't care if it's to protect your own self or whatever it is. You have to do the right thing, or you are solely responsible for your choices. You giving shots to kids and killing them, going to be hanging around your neck. You trafficking or abusing kids, going to be hanging around your neck when you face God Almighty. And treating people the way that you've been treated. I mean, every single one of these people are going to have to stand before God Almighty, and that's going to be a bad day.
Yeah,
Yes,
and it hasn't stopped. Like I said, the probation officer, when I got here, I was like, okay, look, I don't stay here. Can I go? They're like, okay, well, what ties to the community you have to where you want to go? Well, I have my wife, I have my kids, I have a job, I got a house, I got a car. You go, no. What ties do you have to the community? I'm all like,
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I was like, I don't. What do you? She goes, yeah, because your family and that doesn't count. You need to have ties to the community. I'm all, you got to be shitting.
Well, that's some kind of Nazi crap going on right there. The family should be coming first.
Yeah, so they're not. Apparently, my family and kids don't count as ties to the community, so they deny my relocation, which I'm trying to fight now. And two, I can't even deliver food for DoorDash because of my background. It's crazy.
Are you? So you're not home with your family now yet?
I've been out for almost 60 days, and I still haven't been able to go see them.
Are you in DC yet?
Mm-hmm. I've been in DC, yeah.
And there's 4 of you or so that are in DC floating around, and there's reasons to hate these people more and more every day. I'm sorry, I'm so past this. You know, I'm sorry. I can't find anything in me to love Satan. I can't find it in me. It's not there, and it's not there for me to find anything other than complete disgust, disdain, and total hate for these people that have stood with Satan. I can't find it in myself. Maybe it's a human feeling. Maybe it's just like there's no reason to have any reason to feel anything about them other than total disgust.
Yeah, they have a rule where it's like within 60 days they don't allow you to leave the district. And I would bring my family here. It's just that, you know,
I wouldn't.
But like, she goes, it's a waste of money. We're gonna spend money on a hotel.
Well, it's not that; it's the risk. The risk
can't support them there. How is he going to support them there? He has to leave them behind because nobody is going to employ him, and within the regulations of probation. So the minute he would possibly find a job in the 3% of conservatives there, then probation's going to say, we need their contact information to confirm your employment hours and what you're doing. And then when probation contacts your employer, they're like, I didn't ask for this. I'm out.
So wow. DoorDash denied my application. So I'm figuring things out. I picked up a freelance work that I'm trying to pick up some clients. I've had a meeting, but I'm still getting the hang of it all, how to work a sales call and pitch. And some of them are potential. They don't want to pay the price. And I'm figuring out the ropes right now. I had a few sales calls this past week.
And I want to
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Real quick, Ace. I want to tell the viewers he is working on social media and creating content and helping build platforms for businesses. And he's new, so if you are just passionate about maybe adding to his repertoire or educating him or just giving him opportunities, whatever it is, be sure to reach out for that. He is volunteering, which shows his heart of servitude. He is volunteering for American Patriot Relief and helping with our content because we're all volunteer organization. And he wants, even during his persecution and all the pain the government is putting him through, he still has a heart to serve other J6ers and organizations that are trying to do that. So a big shout out to him that even amongst all the pain, he's looking out for the others coming behind him.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's this is new generational warfare against the American citizens, and we just got to stick together. There's a lot of things going on, and I feel like the separation isn't going to help. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and I feel it, and it's hard to blame anybody because we didn't put ourselves here. The government are experts in what they do with the divide. So we just have to stick together and not be afraid that, the government is more on a welfare check than someone on food stamps. Like, they're literally welfare too. Like, they could not make it in society if it wasn't for the taxpayers supporting.
They're parasites. The government is a collection of parasitic individuals doing the wrong thing that contribute nothing to this nation whatsoever. They don't produce anything. They have to do their own little public-private partnerships to actually produce anything. because they have to take over what somebody else has done because they're parasites. They are non-innovators. They are thieves and cheats and liars. And, you know, and anybody that participates in this stuff, no matter what it is, from the schools that are pushing transgender, you know, genital mutilation crap and all of this other satanic agenda, these people are responsible for what they do, you know?
And that's
So,
why I started picking up cigars. I am not a big smoker, but I feel like how they're making men not want to unmasculine men, and they want men running around in dresses and use women's restrooms. Smoking a cigar with my MAGA hat and a cup of scotch is the way that we fight back. We have to stand firm in who we are. We're men. We have to. I have a child. I have a son now, so I have to fight ideology within my household. Coming here pretty soon. He's not going to public school. He hasn't been vaccinated. None of the vaccines, none of the vitamins, none of the ad-born vaccine they give you. And I remember having a breakdown. Most beautiful moment of my life. I felt like it was just the lights got brighter, seeing him come out. But I remember I told the doctor, give me a moment. You know, everybody leave. Everybody get up. I took my son to the window and I kneeled and I said, Lord, this is good. This is the toughest decision because I felt like I'm not educated enough, but I want to put my faith in you. I don't want to give him the vaccine. If he has an issue because of the vaccines that, you know, oh well, he got sick because you didn't give him a vaccine. Put that on me. You know, let me be the blame. Let me carry that burden. But I'm doing this because I want to put my faith in you. I couldn't live with myself if something were to happen because of the vaccine or stuff like that. So, and I did it with my daughter too. I was like, look, I want to put my faith in you. I don't want to put my faith in science. I don't want to put my faith in the pharmaceutical industry that's making millions and millions of pounds. These injections. You know, so please watch over my son, having live a healthy life. And if I'm wrong, then I would take full accountability and judgment day that I did not protect the gift you gave me. But I felt like this is what I need to do, and I don't want to get him rejected. And my wife called me crazy for this bit. She goes, no, but it says this and it says that. And recently, not recently, but kind of recently, we've had multiple conversations. She goes, I cannot believe that I almost did that to our child. She goes, if it wasn't for you waking me up, she goes, I thought that you were just doing it out of ego. She goes, no, I understand you truly love our son and our kids, but it started with my son because he was first born. She goes, she goes, now the stuff that I know now, she goes, I couldn't live with myself. She goes, I couldn't, and I'm so glad that you kind of brought this to my attention. And now she goes, and it's made our relationship stronger. Now she's more of a devout Christian, and she's willing to obey, not in a bad way, but she understands that the hierarchy of how God wants the household. She goes, look, I'm new to all this. I'm glad that you're showing me. And she goes, I know that from now on, you only have the best interest in our kids. And she goes, this is something that I don't think I can find, and because I've never heard of this. You know,
well, let me give you a perspective from somebody who's an older Christian woman, because I'm like 60 years old. Women have the tendency to run ourselves ragged, taking care of everything that comes in front of us because it breaks our heart. And I'm gonna say it right now. There is something so beautiful that God created into real men that are there, and God created you as a protection for your families, and it's nothing you can do to change it. It's built into you, and it's a really beautiful thing. And real women who know what a woman is and are not confused and have never been confused understand that we were created the way we are because we need each other, and God put us together in a family situation is the best possible outcome for our own lives because we complete each other, we complement each other. And, you know, I'm going to tell you what, it's like people always tell me, oh, you know, I've got a CPL. They're like, Donna, you should be concealed carry all the time. And I'm like, I got this guy here, you know? And I'm like, he is a man's man. And he's just ready to go to battle with somebody for somebody that screws with his family. He would be.
I'm so glad. I can't even hold it back. I'm so glad you said that because I wanted to say that myself. I, for one, am grateful to see a man wanting to be a man, and
I am too,
and not being afraid to lead his family, and the wife not being afraid to compliment him in that process. Don't you know the Word of God holds the husband accountable for the salvation of his family? Not the wife, the husband. He will give an account. So they have that moral obligation. And, you know, I also love that through this talk, Ace, we have got to see all walks of throughout this week, all these J6ers and the different place they are in their walk with the Lord.
It's all about that walk with God. It is about that walk with God.
It's a process, and it looks different for everyone. And when we don't try to fake our way through, we just, here's where I'm at, love it, leave it. I'm in the process. I see where I fail. I see where I succeed. And I don't need you helping me with that. I need you to support me and grow me in that. And that's what I see with you.
The kindest men, the strongest men. My dad was a very, very strong male figure. I mean, he was ex-military. He was very regimented. I mean, if I was 5 minutes late for anything, I'm telling you what, the world ended right then and there, right? And but he was so giving. Whenever anything went wrong, my dad would step up. He'd be the first one there to make sure that if there was somebody that died, he was there. The kids were okay. Everybody was okay. I mean, he took care of the tribe. But on the other hand, when my kids played piano, he would cry his eyes out at the beauty of it. And I'm going to tell you what. So I have horses, and I do horse training and raising, that sort of thing, to a certain degree. Not the best one on the planet, but I get along, right? And what I can tell you is I've got 3 breeding stallions. God builds everything in this world that no one is without exception, if you're paying attention a little bit and not just trying to be a 6-year-old on a stage, little snowflake, right? The stallions have 2 processes or 2 jobs in the horse world, okay? Horses are a herd animal. The stallion is there to protect the herd first and foremost and to create babies. That's it. That's all they do. And I can tell you, with riding stallions as opposed to geldings or mares, it's a whole different ball game, because a mare will see a chipmunk and think that it's a lion running out of the trees ready to kill them, and they lose their minds. They run. They're terrified. It's like, oh no, whatever will happen to me. Stallion is like it's probably 15 times the horse of a mare, with strength, with just power, with everything, just because that's the way they're genetically made, right? They're made to protect. A stallion will see something, and it can be a real threat. They will plant their feet. They get real big. They puff up, and it's like, do I kick your tail now or in 20 feet? Your choice. But I'm going to kick your tail, so you better back down and not try to threaten something I love, because it's going to be a bad day for you. They don't run. They don't get upset. They don't do nothing. They sit there, and they will take everything. And I'm just going to say it to all you snowflakes out there. Shut the hell up. You know, it's like the guys are there doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you just look like a weak, little, pathetic, irrelevant little nonsense. Go sit in your little safe spaces with your herbal tea and your fat-free cookie and tell everybody what you know, because we know as soon as you get in trouble, you're going to be yelling for somebody who is toxic masculinity to come and dig your sorry butt out of trouble. And to all the guys out there, all of us real women, we love you. We love our dads, our brothers, our uncles, our aunts, our husbands, our sons, and our friends that are willing to, that are built perfectly in the eyes of God to do what He built you to do, and we love you for it. We absolutely love you for it, you know. So there you
You
go.
can open the door for me anytime.
You betcha. And the older we get, this is the way it is, because you and I are about the same age, Jalise. It's like we came from that thing. If you talk badly to a woman, man, your dad was going to have words. And it
Heck,
was
any man would. You did it in the environment of a woman. I don't care if it was your best friend. You were about to get laid out.
yes. And they would say it. They would say, knock that off, and actually stand there to be, this is another thing chickens do. I have chickens. You know what's the greatest thing is you have a whole bunch of hens in with chickens. So this goes back to God designing the world, right? If you introduce new hens into a pen, quite often the hens will fight. The rooster will literally set up a demilitarized zone in between us and just sit there like this, like knock it off. And set the peacefulness there. And we love this about guys. Guys are amazing. And just so everybody knows, you just be that guy that God created you to be, and we're proud of you. We're very proud of you.
One thing I would like to share with the men, American men, is the people that fought in the revolution against the king, once we kind of the foundation of America. They were just farmers. I believe some of them were dentists, some of them were just labor men. Like, it doesn't, your paperwork of a diploma, your paperwork of education does not define your status. It does not define of what you're able to do. We are called by the Most High to protect the children, to protect the women. We are called, the fall of the garden. When Eve ate the apple, God didn't question Eve. He questioned the accountability of Adam. Why did you? And put the blame on him. Because men, we should know better. And for men to be so lax on this time is we should be doing more. We should be interacting with society more, saying, hey, this is wrong. I stand. This is a Christian country. We should not have. We should protest against these concerts where they're mocking the Son of the Most High with upside down crosses, with blasphemy, with dancing on the devil's lap. Men should be like, no, this is a blasphemy. This is not welcome in our country. We are a Christian country. This is the deterioration of society. We cannot have our children watching this and idolize these actors, these actresses, these celebrities, and pay them the most money to kneel against the flag. Like, we have had many people die, and some men who don't have generations to carry on. And the only thing we can carry on their name is by respecting the flag, respecting what they did for us, respecting America, the only country that's founded on Christian beliefs. And to understand, like, hey, we need to hold the men in government accountable even more, because they should know better on not to take these backhanded deals. All these secret meetings, all these secret cabal, all these secret societies, all these gay agendas that they're pushing on the children, these transgender, it's all of it is horrible. It needs to be stopped. We need to put an end to it. We need to take this out of schools. We of course understand we need to have a separation of church and state. I agree with that, but at the same time, the education system is failing on the fact of teaching the kids what America is. America is not about the freedom to use whatever restroom you want. Like, there's a limitation to that. You're just becoming retarded now at this point. There's a lot of things that men need to step up and do, and I get it. Most of us men, we're doing the battle of the household. We're trying to provide. We're trying to make ends meet. And then thanks to Biden, has made it even easier. But whatever we can do, whether it's wearing a MAGA Trump, whether it's wearing a Christian shirt, saying, hey, God is the Most High, your opinion is invalid. Whatever the case is, we need to start a movement, a revolution of waking up our fellow men and showing them, like, hey, we are going to become slaves to a tyrannical government pretty soon if men don't stand up. We're going to be, they're going to make us take
for something or fall for anything.
It's going to become a point to where we're going to have to take a mark in our hand or in our forehead. And that is a domino effect of things that are happening now when men are becoming submissive. So, we need to stand against and not kneel to the tyrannical government, not kneel to ideology, not kneel to the progressive left, or not kneel to what's, what they call morally right and inclusive. You can't say that. No, I'm gonna call a faggot a faggot. I'm gonna call a transgender. You can't be in the women's restroom. It's just not right. You can't be pushing this like the whole school thing. I'm not putting my child. I'm doing everything I can now to teach my kids in homeschool, because I chose to have kids the traditional way. I will implement them with my ideology and my beliefs. The men that choose to be gay, the women that choose not to have children the traditional way, cannot embed them with their ideology in school. They are not your kids. They are my kids. I will embed them with my ideology, my beliefs. I am their parent. You are not. You chose to opt out of having kids the traditional way, so you forfeited your right on teaching kids, your own kids. You are not going to indoctrinate mine. So it's a big movement. I don't like where this is going with the kids, the people that are being confused at an early age. Tomgirls can't even be tomboys no more, without saying, "Hey, you got to chop your breasts off." Like, I have a sister. I have sisters who love playing.
I tell people all the time, if I would have grown up now instead of in the 70s, I wouldn't have breasts right now, because I was quite the tomboy. And I'm just happy that I was allowed to be me and find my identity through anything that I was interested in. I didn't have to portray a role of a woman. I didn't have to portray the role of a man. I could just be me. And if I was interested in racing and engines like I am, that was okay. And if I was interested in dolling up and being the sexiest woman in the room, that was okay too.
Yeah, and now you have to be one or the other. Either you're a woman trapped in a man's body, or a man trapped in a woman. You got to chop off a body part. Right. Now they say your genitals don't confirm identity, but yet they want you to chop them off. So it's just the hypocrisy.
If genitals don't confirm your identity, then why did they have to alter them?
Right.
It's kind of like okay. This is like talking out of both sides of your mouth there when you say something like that, and they just sound stupider by the minute. But I hate to do this, but we're going to have to go here. And so, Jalise, could you say a prayer and going to move on to our days? Then I'd love to have you back on again, Joshua. And
thank you so much for the invitation to talk and share my story. You guys are amazing.
Yeah, I think we need to do this again. We may have to do a marathon and just have everybody on for like an 8-hour marathon. See how much caffeine I can keep going on this and stay with it. So, would you say a prayer, Jalise?
Yes.
All right.
Heavenly Father, we humble ourselves in your presence. Father, I pray for all the people that their culture, their race, their sexuality has been abducted by evildoers that intend harm to try to pit wars against each other within the American people. Father, I pray that we could turn our eyes toward you, that we could grow in our faith, that we could lean into you and trust you with every ounce of our being, with our families, with our children, with our home, with any and everything, that we would walk boldly in your name's sake, that we would proclaim your headship, and that we would come out the mighty warriors that you've called us to be, that we would not succumb to fear, that we would not succumb to judgment. Father God, I love you, and I pray for this nation. I pray for the January 6th defendants, and I pray for all of those being politically persecuted, that we could be delivered in your name's sake, that you would receive all the glory. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. And I ask that your favor rest strongly upon Jalise and Joshua and their families during this time, that you would walk with them and bless them, every single thing that they do, say, and give them the provision and the peace that passes understanding, that you are with them at all times strongly, and that your word would become even more magnified through them, through what they've gone through. Bless those that incarcerated them and committed torture and all forms of evil, that they would turn their hearts to one and all only Savior, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So I muted you because we started praying and they started getting loud in the background. So I'm like, Yeah, that's okay, Satan. Not today, Zerd.
Not today, Satan.
That's right. So here we go. So here, the end of the show, please go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States. And want to let everybody know that it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a good weekend. Make it so, you know. God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. We're taking this back. Somebody said that the Satanists are using this. They're using the rainbow too, but God came first. All they did is like they're cheaters and they're fakers. So I'm going to keep doing this, okay? So love you. Love. So at any rate, have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday. Make every day count. If you don't have a good example, be one. You see something wrong like this happening, shove it right in their faces. Don't lay down. Don't comply with their nonsense. Stand up. We're in a war. Don't take anything from people like this, and keep your legs strong underneath you. We're going to need it. I think there's going to be some more crazy stuff coming, and everyone's going to be tried. So prepare now, and we'll see you next week. Stay on the line, guys.